Robin Voss wants to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion offices at public universities. Voss telling the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, quote, if they want to increase their funding, they have to show they can prioritize things to grow the economy, not grow the racial divide, unquote. Voss says the offices are a waste of taxpayer dollars. A change in mortgage fees may hurt first-time home buyers with good credit. The adjustments made Monday by the Federal Housing Finance Agency aims to make it easier for first-time home buyers with lower credit and less money to put down. The result is those with higher credit scores won't benefit from the best rates and the best terms. First-time buyers across the board seeing an increase in the amount they're paying for their homes, in part because of these changes. I'm Jane Matnair. This is Civic Media News.
Welcome to Mount Pleasant in Racine County, your next vacation and business destination. Just 30 miles south of Milwaukee and 60 miles north of Chicago, Mount Pleasant offers scenic parks, an outstanding hiking and biking trail system, and plenty of dining, entertainment, and shopping options. But Mount Pleasant also offers endless opportunities for economic growth, making it the perfect place to establish your company. Help celebrate the 6th season grand opening of the Franksville Craft Beer Garden on May 19th. Log on enjoymtpleasant.org.
WAUK 540 AM, New Berlin's choice for news talk radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
Real Chili's been serving up mouth-watering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late-night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love Party Packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
The 4 most dreaded words. My computer is down. Oh boy, that bites. Remain sane. PC and Bat together will fix the pain. Rated #1 PC doctor in Southeast Wisconsin. Great service, great rates, and fast service with no trip charge. Experts with PCs, laptops, network servers, protection, backups, and can even help you remotely. Click PCandBat.com or call us at 262-706-3235. That's 262-706-3235. Remain sane. We fix the pain.
WAUK 540 AM, Brookfield's choice for news talk radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUK.
It's great to be here to speak directly to the woke mob.
The liberals have basically made up this whole agenda that guacamole is made of avocados. It's not the truth.
Ticked off, tee off. This is it.
Scubbity boom boom. Scubbity dog. Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada.
Hello, Wisconsin!
Do you need the government's help to help you parent? 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Do you need the government's help to help you parent, especially when it comes to social media? Because Wisconsin is now, we're not there yet, but I think a couple of weeks ago we talked about it when Utah signed into law a new legislation that will go into effect in the next year or so, as far as curfews and a bunch of more parental controls. And now in Wisconsin, there is one legislature, David Steffen, a Republican from Green Bay, who says he will sponsor a bill that gives parents full control over their kids' social media accounts and impose a curfew for social media users under 18. It has not been proposed yet. He is still taking in conversations with parents and such. But to me, it's interesting to me that this is coming from Republicans, because I feel like so often they are the party of personal responsibility. I think even less, a year or so ago, Ron Johnson was on record saying something. It's not society's responsibility to raise your children. And so when it comes to childcare, things that people are really asking for help. The answer is so often, no, it's not our job. That's your job. You should have thought about this before you had children. And then with this situation, and I'm not trying to downplay that there needs to be a conversation around social media. But this just feels like, why is this the topic that some of these lawmakers are willing to step in on and help parents out? But so many other ones, they're not. 844-967-2789. It's Wednesday. So, of course, we have Jane Matnair. And, of course, we have Mr. Greg Bach.
Hello.
Hello.
You know what? I feel like everyone today is spicy. There's a spicy feel in the air. I feel Jane's always spicy.
Jane's always spicy.
You're spicy today.
I am a little spicy today.
And I'm feeling spicy.
I have a headache in like the upper quadrant of my upper right quadrant.
Do you know what they call that part of your head?
No.
Your forehead. That's a doctor talking.
Clearly.
I'm a doctor.
But yes, I am a little spicy today.
Yeah.
Which is
Love
fine.
it.
It's probably
I love
going to make me in the show is going to be that much more fun.
Love spicy Kristen.
Am I wrong here?
No, it's weird. It's just, but is it also their way of saying, look, we love kids too? You know what I mean?
But it's so funny because in the same week, like yesterday, we were talking about the proposed bill to have 14-year-olds deliver alcohol, and then ran through the litany of blue states and red states that are loosening child labor laws. So we're like, oh, we'll let you guys work, but you can't have social media.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's
what?
The real danger.
And I don't think I haven't heard anything from Governor Evers on whether or not he would pass this or what their feelings are on this. And again, there's certain things in the bill, especially because it sounds like it's going to be modeled after what was in Utah, that probably are good for all of us. Like not being able to use your private information to constantly advertise to you. I think there's one, you can't get unsolicited direct messages unless you're already friends or following that person.
That's not terrible.
So there's some stuff that like, I would sign up for if I could, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, has anyone asked the teenagers like what because I think there's obviously there's some critics of these different bills that are popping up that are, free speech stuff. Also for LGBTQ kids who are not always feeling comfortable to be able to talk to their parents, if all of a sudden their avenue to talk to people and find their communities, their parents are constantly in their business, is that optimal or good in bad situations? So I think what I just keep coming back to is this feels kind of like a nannying state type situation for the party that's always railing against that.
Well, let's not forget that this is the same party who has told parents that they can't be trusted to make medical decisions on behalf of their children, but they can.
Yeah.
They can legislate what treatment will and will not be allowed for your child. And yet they are the party of small government, except in these 97 situations.
Well, I think that's the key word right there, Jane. It's always accept. Accept this, accept that, accept this. Well, not that. Well, it's never about personal responsibility when we're talking about a couple hundred people storming the Capitol and trying to overthrow an election. It's not about personal responsibility. They were tourists just having a good time. There's always a reason. And the thing that infuriates me more than anything else is when Republicans come guns a-blazing at an issue and they change their mind on something else that's very closely related. They talk about it like as if the contradiction or the hypocrisy doesn't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter. And they're like, but what, you say you won't give gender affirming care to kids, but now you worry about their social media. Why don't you well, that's not the same thing. It's a kid. It's all the same. It's all, it all matters.
Like we're pointing to their mental health when it comes to social media.
Yeah.
But mental health statistics and evidence when it comes to LGBTQ kids doesn't matter.
Which just goes to show they don't know enough about the topics. And also they're just going for the hot button issues. And at the end of the day, talking about the trans issue, they don't care about trans people because trans people don't vote for them. so they can say whatever they want about them. They're always going to get people saying, yeah, you're right. My child deserves to be a child. Okay, cool.
But I offer this to you listening, especially if you have kids, especially if you have teenagers right now. Would something like this help? Because, to a certain extent, the three of us can sit here who not only aren't parents, but also don't have parents that are not parents of teenagers. And none of us grew up with social media as teenagers, right? Like, I think
Thank goodness.
yeah, like we point to, and some of the same issues were there. I remember reading Raising Ophelia when I was like 18, and that was a book for parents of like teenage girls, because like the mental health issues for young girls has been there. Like this, I had stuff, I've talked about it before. I had an eating disorder. Like a lot of this stuff like was way, with or without social media, has been there as far as something happens to young girls, a lot of young girls at least, once they hit puberty, that they often go from being these like vivacious, confident, I can do anything 10-year-olds to insecure,
Depressed.
self-harming 13-year-olds in a very short period of time, and their parents don't recognize them. And that predates social media. And I think it's been exacerbated by it. But it's like, is there not other things you can do as a parent, like not get your kid a smartphone?
Mm-hmm. Nowadays, I know a lot of people who have just bowed down to it. They're like, well, all my kids' friends have a smartphone and that's how they communicate. And I want to be able to text my kid. I'm like, once again, what you just said, I don't have a child. I don't understand that complexity, but I also feel like there are options. You don't have to just be like, well, all our friends have an iPhone, so here's an iPhone.
Isn't that the opposite argument that when you hear kids, it's like, well, if all your kids were running off the side of the cliff, would you join them?
Right.
And you're like, well, as a parent, does that not go away? It's like, well, all the other kids are doing it, so I guess we got to do it too. And again, I'm talking to you as parents out there, 844-967-2789. Has it gotten to the point where you do think legislation is needed to curb this problem? Or is it something that you still think you can handle individually in your household as a parent? 844-96-PARTY.
And I don't understand the whole parents will control their kids' social media accounts. Don't they do that already?
Well, there are parental controls already.
Yeah.
It's not like, at least as far as I know, maybe there are kids who are setting up their own Instagram accounts and Facebook accounts and TikTok accounts, but there are some barriers already in place, right?
Well, yes, there are. And the other thing I have a question about is why all of a sudden now from the Republicans, why all of a sudden at this moment? Because yes, TikTok is very new. Twitter isn't as new. Facebook is older.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're not on Facebook.
But my point is, like, as a kid, I am almost 30 years into the internet, going into AOL chat rooms, the original social media, where people were vicious, mean. This has been going on for a long time. What is the thing that kicked it off for the Republicans to say all of a sudden we got to take care of the kids right now? Like, when did you start caring about kids? How come this? Because it's always, kids have been cyberbullied in new and when I say awesome, I don't mean awesome good. I mean awesome as in mind-blowing ways on Facebook and DMs for a long time. And lawmakers were like, well, it's bullying. Kids get bullied. What are you going to do about it? No. Why now? Why all of a sudden this moment? Why do they care about this topic?
Maybe it's deflection. It's deflection from their lack of action on reasonable gun controls. In the wake
that's
of
a whole other
all of
topic.
these, but in the wake of all of these shootings,
Yeah,
and continued mass shootings, and they refuse to do anything about and so, well, we do care about kids. Look over here.
Yeah, I know about all those times people walked into a school and started sending mean DMs to people. That was tragedy.
You want to talk about it?
No. It was a hard Tuesday.
All right. Well, we would love to hear from you. Do you think this is a powerful step? Do you think this is helpful as far as the government stepping in to help you curb social media when it comes to your kid? 844-96-PARTY. We will keep the conversation going when we come back. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Good job, Mary.
You are so. Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair, and he is Greg Bach. And that is, I don't know if anyone else has seen this yet, but I saw this last week, and I think it was dropped mid-April. It's a new Dove commercial that's addressing eating disorders, but also addressing kids online and social media. And it, the power of advertising, because I was definitely a puddle by the end of this ad.
Yeah.
And the audio doesn't really help because it's a very visual commercial of a young girl basically getting a cell phone at first you see her younger, like maybe 9 or 10, and she's vivacious and she's fun and she's doing comedy shows with her sisters or cousins or whatever. And then they have, because it's this day and age, they have video of her opening her first iPhone
when she's like 12.
And then it is a montage of her journal and her workout routine and her looking in the mirror and just like the decline of her incline of her obsession with her body. And then she ends up going through, it looks like inpatient care for an eating disorder. And then it ends with her mom, and she's recovered and she looks good and healthy. And her mom sings, "You Are My Sunshine," which I can't even say. And
she wipes the tear with
oh my
her.
God. And then it cuts to lots of women who are in recovery or have recovered from self-harm, body dysmorphia, eating disorders. And then it ends with Dove's asking people to support this legislation. And like, that was where I kind of went, because the truth is, all of that stuff that she went through, I was not as bad, but I went through an outpatient program. Like, I had a lot of stuff, and like, I didn't have social media. So some of this is stuff that is bigger than social media. And like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Killing Us Softly, which is it talks all about the advertising that's been going on for decades that objectifies women and tells us how we need to look and puts us all our value on how we look. And like, that is something that has existed as long as they've been trying to sell you stuff. And so to a certain extent, I think it's a cop-out to say that it's just social media to blame when it comes, especially I'm talking as from my perspective as a girl. I'd love to hear from you, Greg, but like, that it's like, if we just put curfews on it, some of this other stuff will go away.
844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. Should the government be regulating our kids' use of social media? We have Joe from Appleton is on the phone. Hey, Joe, thanks for joining us. What do you want to say?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call again. Always good to chat with you. I got to give credit to the Wisconsin Republicans. It's not very often.
Done.
They have me conflicted. I'm not on board yet, but I am conflicted. So I got kids. They're not teenagers, but, they will be. And I just worry about them all the time. And I don't know, the mental health issues that come with young folks and social media. And I don't want people reaching out to them in ways that I can't monitor. But at the same time, like you guys have said, this seems to be a small battle to take on when there are much larger battles when it comes down to safety in schools from guns and attacks. When it comes to the mental health of trans and gay youth, they fall on this one. It just seems to be, I'm not a nanny state proponent for sure. I would much rather say, no, I can handle this myself. But I mean, if I'm being quite honest, it would be a lot easier for me and a lot of other parents to say to our kids, hey, look, I would love to allow you on Twitter or on TikTok, but it's against the law. What are you going to do? As opposed to, yes, all your friends have these accounts, but I'm not going to let you do it. So, yeah, that's all I can say is I'll look into it more. I'm conflicted. So jolly good for them, I suppose.
Yeah, Joe, I would love to, if you go read kind of, because it's not a binary thing. It's still letting kids on, but it's like their accounts have full, their parents have full access to the accounts. So there is no, they don't have privacy over them, or it's like putting in a curfew. So the app just shuts down for minors accounts from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And so it's not getting rid of it entirely. It's just putting a lot more limitations on it. And so I know you're a lawyer, and so I would love, because I think you're right. Like, I mean, as a parent, as your kids become teenagers, like, do you think about just not getting them a smartphone?
844-967 2789. Gabby from Madison. Thanks for joining us, Gabby. What's on your mind?
Well, hi. So this is one where Pocane's there today, right?
Say that again?
Is Pocane there today, Senator Pocane?
Senator Pocane, I think there might be a different show. He's not on our show today.
Oh, I'm trying to think of the other one. Sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Baba Booey. I think there can and should be limitations put on children's access to social media. But also at the end of the day, one, they will get around it. They're smarter than us when it comes to these sorts of tech things like, oh, I can't have an account. I'll just make a new account with a new email that says I'm 18, but problem solved. But also the other thing too is this is just a Band-Aid. What you were talking about before at the beginning of the segment, you know, what you went through, this is deeper than social media. This is ingrained, embedded behavior that we're taught. And instead of, social media is a component, but what are we going to do to service the larger wound here, which is how are we taking care of our children? How are we dealing with how do we look at our children's mental health? How do we talk to them? How do we get them to the proper people? To me, thinking about it now, Republicans are like, well, let's just block their social media or limit it, but they're not willing to go deeper. They never are, period, because it's a deeper issue.
Well, we're going to keep talking about this because I have more stuff to say. So we would love to hear from you. 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY. Do you want the government to step in when it comes to social media and kids? This is As Goes Wisconsin.
You are so beautiful. You want a small waist this summer when your favorite product
And watch it with her.
Yeah. And it's interesting though, because I saw that Dove commercial that is both addressing eating disorders, attaching it to social media and being so young and kind of being obsessed with your body. My argument is that stuff was happening way before social media, maybe not in the same numbers, but it was happening. And then the at the end, it asks you to go support the Kids Online Safety Act. And not 2 days later, after I saw this Dove commercial, I stumbled upon a young woman's TikTok account. And mostly I stumbled upon it because she's in college and she crochets or knits like vivaciously, ferociously.
Good word.
Ferociously.
Ferocious knitting.
While she's
Prodigiously.
in her college classes. And she talks about having autism and it helps her concentrate to keep her hands busy while she's talking, like while she's in class. And of course, then I go through, she said she did something funny. So I go to her account, come to realize it's the girl from the Dove commercial. And she has like 200,000 followers on TikTok. And she started a company called, I just had it up, Shop Purple Pear, which is she knits scarves and she knits like comfort stuffed animals and stuff. And so she's turned her hobby, her obsession, as she calls it, that she gained during her inpatient program. So while she was in her eating disorder inpatient program, she caught on that some of the other girls in the program, to keep their hands busy and calm their anxiety, they would get really into knitting or crocheting. So she got into it. She became obsessed with it. She does it while she's in college. There's another video where she has like a 4.0. So she seems to be doing really well now. But my point is, it feels almost disingenuous of the Dove commercial to end with this Kids Online Safety Act, where now this young woman who's the centerpiece of that ad is still very much using social media. She's using social media for good. She's being creative on it. She's having fun with it. She's using her small business to promote her small business using it. And so it's just a little like, again, I come back to, by just curbing social media, are we actually tackling the mental health issues that kids are facing? Or is it just a scapegoat versus digging a little bit deeper? Because later in today's show, we're going to talk about the fact that the Surgeon General came out that loneliness is now an epidemic in our country, that over half of U.S. citizens are suffering from loneliness. And he's literally, as a health epidemic, has said loneliness is a huge problem and it's as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day to your health. So we're going to talk about that in the last hour.
So you're saying I could smoke 15 cigarettes a day?
No,
I don't think that's the message, Greg.
But I'm just saying, if it just feels like this is not going to be a silver bullet.
This is what I was talking about, though, in the last segment. This is a Band-Aid, a poorly placed Band-Aid. This is a gaping wound we need to address, and we're not going to. And Republicans are like, yeah, social media, that's the problem. Bye, check out. I did my work for today.
And it also, I was having this conversation with my sister-in-law last night about some people that we know who refuse to have their kids get tested for autism.
God, why?
And we were talking about just in general, some parents who were like, I don't want to deal with it. And it's like that, almost like when we say with the Band-Aid stuff of, if we blame social media, then we don't have to have the harder conversations of what's really going on. And I use the autism thing because it's like, well, if we don't get tested, then we don't have to deal with it.
Because it won't be there.
Because it won't be there. And so if there's deeper things going on where a young woman or a young guy is susceptible to harming themselves, to eating disorders, there's an underlying insecurity that is going on that is exploited by looking at pictures and comparing yourself to others and all the stuff that social media does. Like, just taking the phone away doesn't necessarily heal those things.
And that right there, what you're saying about the parents is like it's not the kids then. It's the parents we need to educate.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to it, we
What-
need to.
Well, and I think as well, this is yet another diversion. And as you said, Kristen, it's putting all of the onus on social media, and that way we don't have to fund any mental health.
Nah.
Which they cut.
Yeah,
Right. Which
yep.
at least here in Wisconsin has been cut from Governor Evers' budget. So
Yeah.
right. Again, let's put it all on social media. And if we do this, that's going to fix everything. And now we don't have to invest in mental health resources in our schools.
Yeah, it's shameful. My sister used to be a caretaker, and she can spot autism a mile away. She works
Really?
with kids. Oh yeah, and she had parents who had two. When I say low functioning, I was around them once. These kids were so low functioning, they couldn't speak, they could barely they just existed. It was so sad to watch. And the worst part of it is that both of these parents refused to admit that there was anything wrong. They honestly thought that these kids who couldn't speak, who had to be fed, were just going to snap out of it one day. They were so oblivious, not oblivious, refusing in denial that their kids needed help, that it was just like, my sister's like, I can't take care of them anymore because I can't do anything without their permission, without parents' permission, without help from them, and they're not helping me. I can't help these kids.
Mm-hmm.
So like, we're talking about this matter here. Maybe we need to take care of the children. We need to educate them. We need to take care of their mental health. We also need to talk to the parents.
Yeah.
The parents are the more important portion of this. Because if the government's stepping in, there's an argument to be made to say, well, then because the parents aren't doing anything. Sorry, parents out there. That's not what I'm saying. That's what it looks like from the outside as someone who doesn't have kids. If the government has to step in, this isn't about the children. It can be said that it's about the parents.
Well, and it's interesting. Yesterday, we had Oriana Carey, who is the CEO of the Coalition for Children, Youths, and Families, which is they basically support foster families and adoption and stuff in Wisconsin. And part of becoming a foster parent is you have to go through training.
Yeah.
You have to get trained on situations and how to handle it. And she said that's sometimes a sticking point because people are like, well, I raised my kids. Like, why do I have to go through training? And she makes the joke. She's like, well, I have a 19 and a 25-year-old, and I wish I would have had a little bit more help of telling me what to do. Because it's like if you have your biological children, it's on your shoulders. Yeah. And it also goes back to, I think, to what Jane was saying, is like, it takes a village. You know, if there's times, and this is why, like, having good teachers, having resources at schools, having funding at schools, of when you send your kids off and there's a community of people who, you know, ideally, hopefully, are invested in the well-being of your child. And when they're not comfortable talking to you about a thing, don't you wish that they had someone else, another adult, another trained adult in their life they could talk to? But like, we need funding for those things too, to have a circle of trust around these children.
And what they're doing now is cultivating a society that says if anyone does anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, not your child, but you uncomfortable, then you get to say, I'm the parent. I raised the child. Well, okay, cool. Take him out of school. You put him in, you cheat. Like, you take it all on then yourself, because you entered into this contract. When you have children, you put them in society. There's a group of people raising them. And just because they make you feel uncomfortable, you, the parent, not the child, you uncomfortable. If you don't like it, then you know what? It's all yours now. You get to have it. Lunch is at 11:30. There you go. Enjoy your day.
But, you know, I want to leave room for the fact that we are not parents, and we have a lot of opinions
that
right
I know of.
That you know of.
Sorry.
But we're talking about whether or not you want the government's help when it comes to social media. 844-967-2789, because likely there's going to be a bill introduced and voted on as far as kind of modeling off of the bill that it was passed in Utah that has a bunch of limitations on what minors can do on social media without their parents' consent. And to me, it just kind of, and the other thing that it made me think of, because I heard David Steffen, who's the lawmaker, introducing all this on a different radio program. And he was talking about how many parents he's talked to who are just like, we're at our wits' end and we have no tools and we don't and
take their phones away.
And it was things like that where it's like, I'm also trying to think, and I go back to the parents who are saying, we need help with childcare. We can't afford to put both of our kids in childcare. So now one of us isn't working, and then you're all complaining about the workforce and stuff like that. But like that falls on deaf ears. So it's like, which parents is this guy talking to that is from a select demographic that this is their biggest problem when it comes to parenting their kids? That's also the thing that I'm thinking about, of like his district, the upper to middle class white parents that he talks to, and it's not necessarily the full scope of all the different things that parents are struggling with right now.
I'm also very hesitant to believe anybody who says, I've been talking to parents or I've been talking to people. I mean, sure. Cool. I'm sure you've been talking to people. I talk to people. I'm just, whenever I'm talking to parents all the time and they're saying things, excellent. What are their names? Where do they live? Well, not where they live, but you know what I mean? Like I want some.
Track them down.
Yeah. I want to look at their homes. You got a bidet?
But I do think, certainly from the way my parents parented compared to the way parents parent now, my parents weren't my friends and they didn't want to be my friends and they didn't care if I was mad at them. And I don't think that parents parent that way anymore.
But I slightly disagree with that. Just because, once again, I use my sister as an example. She's got a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old in a few days. I don't disagree, Jane. I think there are some parents, but I unfortunately think that those some parents then become the spotlight of that and become the national model of like helicopter bad parenting. Oh my God, they want to be best friends. My sister could give two whatevers about being her kid back then. She wants to be friends with her kids now because they're adults.
Sure.
But back when they were kids, oh my God, it was my way or the highway. I am the parent, you are the child. So I do think those parents still exist. We just don't talk about them because it kind of is I don't want to say the standard, but it's like, all right, that's how parenting is. It's these parents who are like, I want to be friends with my kids. That then all of a sudden like, oh, all parents are like that. Not all parents are like that. It's just,
I'll give you that.
It's
Sure.
it's a different way of parenting. I don't want to say it's good or bad because once again, not a parent that I know of, but just those parents still exist. And I know one, I could call her right now.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up this conversation. You got a roundup for us?
I got such a roundup.
So we got Greg's roundup of what we missed.
I got a tagline for it now too.
Oh, so stick around to listen to some jokes by Greg when it comes to the news. But you're always welcome to join the conversation. 844-967-2789. We'll be right back.
So what did I miss? What did I miss? Virginia, my home sweet home, I wanna give you a kiss. Mwah. I've been in Paris meeting lots of different ladies. I guess I basically missed the late 80s. I traveled the wide, wide world and came back to this.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Matnair, and he is Greg Bach. And this is the third week of us doing our Greg's weekly headline roundup. And I hear you have a new tagline for this segment.
Yes, it's called Greg's Weekly Headline Roundup. All the news you missed. Well, actually, 5 stories you may have read the headlines and skipped. So here we go.
Here we go.
Ready?
What should we know?
All right. Since their firing from CNN and Fox News, apparently Don Lemon and Tucker Carlson have been texting each other.
No.
Yeah. The information came to light from a close source to Tucker Carlson after they said, "Dear God," he keeps saying, "You want to see what me and my black friend are talking about?"
Oh, God.
I think they are actually using the same lawyer.
Yeah, they are. They're using the same lawyer right now. That's good.
Tucker and Don.
I'll never listen to that podcast or see that movie.
But didn't I hear something that Don Lemon, CNN wanted to have a meeting with
Yes.
Don Lemon, and he refused the meeting, and then just put on social media that they fired me.
Yep. Yeah, he
So
could
does he have a case?
I don't think so. I think CNN's gonna be like, "Hey, you want to see the email? Goodbye, we're done. You pay our lawyer costs."
This just sounds like a very lemony thing to do.
Ooh, lemony snickets. All right. Next up on the old headliners, McDonald's has launched their first fully automated location in Fort Worth, Texas, where customers can order from a kiosk and have their food delivered on a conveyor belt. Sorry, the shake machine is still broken. This is all part of the company's new Accelerating the Arches program, which seeks to maximize efficiencies while doing away with pesky things like raises, health insurance, and humans.
I got it.
There we go.
Is there still cooks, though? Who's cooking the food?
There will be people cooking the food
You
in
just
the
don't
back.
have to see them.
Yeah,
you don't have to be bothered by being with their presence.
You don't have to get that like massive side eye where you get that like custom order of like pickles on your ice cream.
What happens if you have a complaint? What happens if you get the wrong order?
There will still be someone there to take care of it.
And they still won't care.
They still will not care.
They'll still be underpaid.
Like, that'd be great. I still, I have 2 children and I'm making half a living wage.
Am I the only one that this makes very uncomfortable? I don't want my food coming out on a conveyor belt.
Well, Jane, you remember the automat days. You're old. I mean, come on. You remember those days back when you
close.
Put a nickel in and get a ham Sammy.
Not quite there, Greg, but I was close.
Oh, the automat. It's the way of the future.
Jesus.
All right. Let's see here. What we got next? Oh, perfect. Entertainment news. Met Gala news, actually.
We have not talked about the Met Gala.
In a fashion anomaly, actor and director Olivia Wilde wore almost the exact same outfit as filmmaker and Vogue China editor Margaret Zhang, both showing off a floor-length reinterpretation of a Karl Lagerfeld classic featuring a violin as the centerpiece on the dress. Wilde took to social media posting "great minds," quote unquote, making people very happy on her Instagram page. Wilde, whose dress was white while Zhang's was black, also said, "Hey, when you have to look stunning and you only have $4,200 to spend, sometimes things happen."
Is that how much the dress was?
Yep.
I would imagine that's cheap for a Met Gala dress. $4,200?
Well, I don't know. I looked it up. It said $4,200. What do you want me to do? These are headlines.
I gotta say, I saw the dress. I didn't pick up violin vibes at all. I thought it looked like a tacky gladiator dress.
Oh my God. We need a new segment. Jane's reviews
fashion,
the Met Gala.
Yes. Jane's fashion reviews.
Oh my God. Watch out. Mr. Blackstone's gone in his place.
Wait, I'm writing this down to come back to flesh out this idea
later.
Oh,
yeah, definitely. I know last week I made a joke about Assembly Speaker and popcorn party pooper Robin Voss, but this week I actually have a story about him. He sucks. Moving on. In sports news, it's official. Aaron Rodgers is now a New York Jet. Rodgers is looking forward to bringing his style on and off the field. New teammate and wide receiver Garrett Wilson was quoted as saying, "Yeah, he keeps saying, speaking of Jets, 9/11 was an inside job, right?" And then finally, my last story here, it's a Wisconsin news story regarding our favorite senator, not her, the other one. In a press event, Senator Ron Johnson, who, if featured in a Marvel movie, would most definitely be the bad guy, doubled down on his belief that natural immunity is better than vaccine immunity. The senator, who bragged about not having the COVID shot, can add natural immunity to the list of other awful things he thinks are good, like climate change is good for Wisconsin. January 6th insurrectionists were tourists. The spinoff Joey was better than Friends. And finally, coconut's good. He also went on to, oh, good, get out of my face. He also went on to say, try to dispute me if you'd like, but these are the facts. Also, hail Hydra. And those are your headlines that you may have missed or skipped Greg's Roundup.
Nicely done.
Thank you very much. I'm getting this is now my favorite segment of every show.
As it should be. This is fun. I'm trying to think of what you wrote that we could go back and kick around. I feel like Rojo would look good with an eye patch. Like what would his Marvel villain costume look like?
Well, I'm still waiting on the Oaklander design. By the way, that's never gone away. That's still happening. I feel like he'd just be in a suit and with his dead blue eyes. Maybe
and the bird on his shoulder.
Maybe you press something on the back.
A bird on his shoulder, like a Jafar type parrot.
The bird on his shoulder.
You press something on the back of his ear, behind his ear, and his eye just pops out.
The bird on his shoulder would be dead.
Oh God! Dang, Jane, you went dark. Boston Greg's here. Jane went dark. Everybody, this radio show got dark.
Speaking of the Oaklander shirt, are we still gonna do our Deppy Semi? What was because so coming up in May this month, if you may not have known that it is the 175th birthday of Wisconsin. And so I would love to hear from you. Would you buy or enter a contest to win a shirt that celebrates Wisconsin's 175th birthday, which is also called
This says it's the Turquoise-Quicentennial.
No, we used to have one before that was like Demi-Semi-Centennial something.
Demi-Semi-Sepcentennial.
Yeah, well, ask me about my Demi-Semi-Sepcentennial.
But that's also is 100 years. No, I think I was wrong because
I'm looking. Wrong?
I was wrong. Oh man. Well, that's fine. We'll lie. No one knows. Please, it's math, for God's sakes.
Trust me, there's someone on Twitter who will see it. I'm like, excuse me, that's wrong.
Oh, well, actually, that's not what you're talking about, sir.
Well, we'll come up with some shirt designs and we'll offer it to the people to see if they would if it's worth actually
We'll
purchasing.
make ass shirt.
Yeah, ass shirt. All right. Well, when we come back at 12:30, we're talking to Clean Wisconsin to talk about the new coalition for a clean economy. And also when we come back, a non-exhaustive list of the Supreme Court justice scandals since 1991. Stay with us. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
I had my first cabinet meeting today. I guess I better think of something to say. I'm already on my way to get to the bottom of this. Mr. Jefferson, welcome home. Mr. Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton. Mr. Jefferson, welcome home. Mr. Jefferson, welcome home, sir. You've been off in Paris for so long.
Images are everywhere, on iPads, cell phones, or the cloud. In fact, everywhere but where you can find them. Mike Crivello Camera and Imaging Center has the solution to this problem. They're called pictures, and we print them right from our website. And you order them online at MikeCrivellos.com. And they look magnificent in your photo album.
Mike Crivello's world is a wonderful world of camera.
It's not a picture till it's printed. 181st and Blue Mound.
Real Chili's been serving up mouth-watering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late-night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love Party Packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
You are listening to WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W266 DR Waukesha, always streaming on the Civic Media app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Steel.
I'm Steve Kathan. A tense day-long manhunt is over in Texas. A suspect and others now facing charges.
A tip called into the FBI led law enforcement to a house in Conroe, Texas, about 20 miles from where the murders took place. After 4 days on the run, murder suspect Francisco Oropesa was found hiding in a closet under laundry. He's now in a San Jacinto County jail facing 5 murder charges. Sheriff Deputy Tim Keene.
There has been several arrests, but I can't go into the details on that.
From court records, we now know Oropesa's wife, Diva Mara Lamar Nava, is one. She's been charged with hindering the apprehension or prosecution of a known felon. Chris Fox, for CBS News, Austin.
Police in Oklahoma aren't saying much about the discovery of 7 bodies in a rural area. Families of the victims say they were all shot and believe one of the dead, a convicted sex offender, was responsible. The suspect in a mass shooting in Serbia is a teenager, a student at a school in Belgrade where 8 young people and 1 adult were killed. CBS's Imtiaz Tayeb.
Police say that the young shooter had drawn sketches of classrooms and wrote a list of people that he intended to target in what's being described as a meticulously planned attack.
Russia accuses Ukraine of an assassination attempt on President Vladimir Putin, citing an attempted drone attack on the Kremlin that has not been verified. CBS's Charlie D'Agata.
President Putin was not harmed, neither was anybody else for that matter. The Kremlin says Russia reserves the right to take retaliatory measures where and when it sees fit. Kyiv has so far denied any responsibility.
Eli Lilly reports encouraging trial results for an Alzheimer's drug that treats early symptoms. Robert Egge of the Alzheimer's Association says the findings are impressive.
Those who take the treatment compared to those who don't decline 40% less in losing their functional abilities.
New York has become the first state to pass a bill banning the use of natural gas for heating and cooking in some new buildings. It's designed to cut carbon emissions, but opposed by industry groups as excessive and costly. It's believed the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates for the 10th time in recent months. CBS's Sarah Ewall-Weiss says today's boost is likely to be a quarter point.
The real interest here is what the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says about hikes moving forward. We don't know if they're going to then signal that they're going to pause hikes moving forward. Even if they do, we expect the federal funds rate to remain high for the rest of the year.
Checking Wall Street right now, the Dow is down 13 points. The NASDAQ is up about 30 points.
That's what we like to do on this show. Find the comedy gold.
I just like non-fungible as a word.
It is a good word.
It's a wonderful, it just has a good mouthfeel.
La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada. Hello, Wisconsin!
The Senate GOP says Congress can't do anything about Clarence Thomas's ethics mess. And so none of them seem that concerned about what's been happening with our Supreme Court.
Clarence Thomas is like guns. Can't do anything about it.
Nothing to see here.
Nope.
Nothing to see.
It's all fine.
The Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday held its first hearing on the Supreme Court's mounting ethics woes, response to a recent string of stunning revelations that Justice Clarence Thomas failed to properly disclose a property sale and hundreds of thousands of dollars in luxury gifts from Harlan Crow.
Yeah. Talk
about a Marvel villain name.
Nah, he beat DC. He sucks.
Okay. Do you hold that? Do you think the villains in Marvel are stronger than the villains in DC?
In the movies, yeah, they've been more captivating in the films than
Interesting. But what about the actual comic books?
Comic books? No, the Joker's my favorite bad guy.
I was gonna say that feels
because he has no superpowers. He's just disgustingly smart and psychopathic.
Like a dog. If I caught it, I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, it's just all part of the plan.
But the hearing didn't reveal anything new about the court's ethical issues.
Conundrum.
No justice agreed to appear for testimony. Chairman Dick Durbin politely requested Chief Justice John Roberts testify or appoint another justice to appear, but Roberts declined, citing separation of powers concerns and the importance of preserving judicial independence. Durbin took issue with Roberts' refusal to appear in his opening remarks. So I guess I have a game for us to play, but I just want to open it up to see any thoughts. We haven't talked much about this since the initial story broke around Clarence Thomas's very special relationship. But
with Mr. Crow,
it feels like there should be some oversight, or they should be willing to, at least in good faith, re-examine how they oversee each other should be, right?
Yes, absolutely. No branch of government should be. That's what I call them, checks and balances.
Yeah.
So the fact that they all refused. Whew, that makes me mad. That makes me really mad.
What would that be instead of the blue line for police? Is it the black line?
No, this country could never give that much respect to anything black.
But you know what I mean? What's the line that they're not crossing? What's their picket line that they're all in solidarity together? That
I would say
testify.
I got nothing here. I want to say brown line because of the gavel, but that's
I
stupid.
call it the green line.
Call it the yellow line.
It's about
cowards.
It's about money.
Money.
It's about money. It's the green line.
Yeah, it's. I want to try to use separations of power to keep myself in a traffic court. That would be amazing. Your Honor, I'd like to start human freedom, America. I don't have to be here. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting, and it to me shows a dangerous precedent that the court can go towards to say, not only do we not have to show up, we have no. What are you talking about? There's no oversight. That's ridiculous. That's 9 little kings and queens sitting on those seats then.
Well, and especially because their popularity is in the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
And their popularity was in the toilet even before all of these ethics things popped up. And so you'd think, especially since Chief Justice Roberts seems concerned about public opinion of the court's legitimacy, he would try to have some kind of good faith appearance or plan to try to restore faith. And I have not heard anything as far as we're going to work on this.
But So the public has a low opinion of them. So what? They don't answer to anyone.
I know.
Yeah,
They don't answer to anyone. They're appointed for life. They can do whatever they want, and they like things just the way they are. Thank you very much. We are the Supreme Court is the only body in this country that has no ethical oversights. It's outrageous.
We don't need your help. It's just us.
So I thought,
Trust us.
Trust us.
It's fine.
so I thought we'd play a game. Hopefully we can. I don't know if we're gonna get through all of this segment, so we may have to finish it on the other side. But I found a non-exhaustive list of Supreme Court justice scandals since 1991, and there's 8 of them.
Okay.
There should be 9.
God. So this is what we're gonna do. The two of you have to blindly rank them.
Okay.
So it's 1 being the worst or the most scandalous, 8 being the least scandalous, but no number can repeat.
Okay.
So I'm gonna read one, and you don't, without knowing, if you can't remember what the rest of them are gonna be, because history is hard to remember sometimes, you have to blindly say 2. Something may come along later in the line that you're like, that should have been a 2. Too bad. So pick.
One is the worst.
1 is the most scandalous.
Okay.
So we're starting strong. Number 1, Clarence Thomas allegedly lying under oath during his 1991 Senate confirmation hearing. During that, Thomas claimed he didn't sexually harass Anita Hill or any other women co-workers during his time at federal agencies, when there's evidence to refute that. Thomas did, however, say that the allegations were part of a, quote, high-tech lynching. He said, quote, it is a message that unless you kowtow to an old order, this is what will happen to you. You will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured by a committee of the U.S. Senate rather than hung from a tree.
Cool. Give that language a 1. Sheesh.
All right. Where do you rank it?
I'm ranking that at a 6 just because he ain't the first prospective justice to lie on the stand or lie in the confirmation hearing. So I'm giving that one a 6.
All right.
I also landed on a 6.
6.
There we go.
Yep.
All right. Number 2, Brett Kavanaugh allegedly lying under oath. Where to begin? Justice Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed in 2018 despite credible allegations that he sexually assaulted women in high school and college. One of his former roommates said he lied under oath when he claimed not to know the meaning of a sexual euphemism, while other classmates said he lied about never blacking out from drinking at Yale, among many other details. The FBI received more than 4,500 tips about Kavanaugh and did nothing with them beyond punting them to the Trump administration, since the agency said it was only conducting a routine background check. In January, a surprise documentary premiered at Sundance detailing other instances of sexual misconduct that the FBI did not investigate. Kavanaugh also appears to have lied under oath about his work in the Bush administration during prior confirmation hearings in 2004 and 2006. Where do you rank that?
I gave him a 5.
I was going to go 5 as well.
Wow, you too.
Yeah.
Just great.
Like mine.
I'd also
today.
call him incredibly hack, but whatever. Go on.
All right. Number 3, Amy Coney Barrett ties to an alliance defending freedom. Justice Amy Coney Barrett has connections to the right-wing Christian legal group Alliance Defending Freedom, the same group that argued the case that the Supreme Court used to overturn Roe, and is also representing the plaintiffs in the baseless but still hugely consequential abortion pill lawsuit. The organization paid her for speaking 5 times at its Blackstone Legal Fellowship, a summer program for law students meant to inspire a, quote, distinctly Christian worldview in every area of the law. ADF is also the legal counsel in a nominal free speech case that could actually destroy non-discrimination protections for LGBTQ people. It's called 303 Creative v. Ellenis. Barrett was also a member of a religious group, People of Praise, that expelled members who had gay sex. In 2022, former members of the group called for her to recuse herself from 303 Creative. She did not. During a 2017 confirmation hearing for a spot on a lower court, Barrett claimed not to know that ADF had an anti-LGBTQ agenda. What? Barrett getting confirmed in late October 2020 after millions of people had already voted in a presidential election. An election that would oust a man who nominated her is just an eternal stain on this woman's tenure.
3.
I've got 4.
4.
Give it
All
a
right.
3.
All right. How many? Yeah, we still got time. We got 3 minutes. We may not get through all of them. We'll do the other half on the other side. All right. Number 4, Clarence Thomas's connections to a GOP mega donor. This one we know because it's the most recent. Well, is it the most recent? There's actually some more on here that
No,
are
there's
even more
another-
recent. Yeah.
Gorsuch.
Yep, he's on here.
Gorsuch.
All right. For years, Justice Clarence Thomas failed to report that billionaire and GOP mega donor Harlan Crow took him on luxury vacations, or that Crow bought property from him at inflated prices, including the house where Thomas's mother still lives and pays 0 in rent. This isn't the first time Thomas has had to amend his disclosure forms. In 2011, he faced scrutiny for not reporting hundreds of thousands of dollars of his wife's income from conservative groups, including the Heritage Foundation. Thomas then amended 13 years of his reports.
I give that a 1.
I give that a 4.
Did you say 4 already?
I said
You
3,
said 3.
5, and 6.
Okay. This is your one. This is your
my
big
one.
your big spot.
This is my big one.
All right.
I
Well,
feel like
what are you saving 1 for?
I feel like
Greg?
there's just like in 1875, a man shot another man in the Supreme Court and did nothing about it. And
It
then
only goes back to 1991.
never mind then. I'd like to redo my numbers. All right.
All right. We will do this one and then finish the last 3 on the other side of the break. Number 5, the Ginny Thomas of it all. Justice Thomas's wife, Ginny, has not only earned millions from conservative groups, but she's also a Trump-supporting MAGA activist who wanted to overturn the 2020 election. She sent nearly 30 text messages to former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, urging him to help overturn the election, and also badgered state lawmakers about it. Here's one of her texts to Meadows, quote, "Biden crime family will be living in barges off Gitmo to face military tribunals for sedition." Ginny has made headlines not only for being on the exclusive email listserv of Thomas's former law clerks, but also for sharing pro-Trump messages. We'll end there because we got to wrap up. But where do you put Ginny Thomas on this list?
1.
She gets a 2.
1 and 2. All right, we got 3 more when we come back, and this is the game, a non-exhaustive list of Supreme Court justice scandals since 1991, ranked. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Are record high energy and water costs putting a squeeze on your fixed or limited incomes? With inflation rising at record levels and incomes not keeping pace, you might be one of tens of thousands of Wisconsin residents who are struggling to survive. While you may not ask for it, the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund and your local energy assistance providers are here to help. No Wisconsin resident should ever have to be without heat, water, or power. For a hand up, apply today and call 1-800-506-5596. That's 800-506-5596. Or visit www.heat.help. That's www.heat.help.
You've got questions about navigating the healthcare system? Kristen Lyerly helps us find answers and discusses other issues at the intersection of healthcare and politics. Hometown Health, Thursday mornings at 7:30 on Up North News Radio.
You are listening to your local Civic Media radio station on air. Thank you. Did you know we are always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app too? And if you miss a show or game, find it wherever you get your podcasts or on our website, civicmedia.us.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Partly cloudy skies this afternoon with a high of 57. Northwesterly winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Lows around 36 tonight. Mainly clear tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 65. Low 60s Friday with a chance for scattered rain showers. Mid 60s, cloudy skies expected Saturday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 48 degrees.
The Shaw 101 FM, Brookfield's choice for News Talk Radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
All the way to the Washington, ruling, robbing my trench town. People also overdone, where the money gone, where the people run. I working and struggling, all the sweat and swing, but I make no thing. Stop making a big bank run, you are fooling here, no one. Corruption.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. He is Greg Bach. She is Jane Matnair. And we are playing a game of going through a non-exhaustive list of Supreme Court justice scandals since 1991. And we are through 5 out of 8 of them. And the rules are you can't double your numbers. So you have to rank them 1 through 8 without necessarily knowing what's coming next. So this is number 6.
Okay.
Samuel Alito allegedly leaking a 2014 opinion. Now, this one's not proven yet, but an explosive New York Times report alleged that Justice Samuel Alito leaked the Burwell v. Hobby Lobby birth control decision during a 2014 dinner with a pair of the Supreme Court Historical Society's evangelical Christian donors. Alito was the author of that ruling, as well as the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe, a draft of which was leaked in full to a journalist in May 2022. But Alito has denied leaking either and called the Dobbs leak a grave betrayal. That made the conservative justices targets of assassination, and he's still whining about it to this day. He thinks he doth protest too much.
I gave him an 8.
Oh,
that
wow.
was a 2 for me.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's
big,
2.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Wow.
2.
All right. Well, we got 2 left. Next one is Neil Gorsuch failing to disclose a real estate deal. Justice Neil Gorsuch sold a massive property he co-owned to the CEO of a law firm that often argues cases before the court. But he didn't name the buyer. He only reported income from an LLC. The 40-acre Colorado property had been on the market since 2015, and Greenberg Torig CEO Brian Duffy bought it just 9 days after Gorsuch was confirmed by the Senate in 2017. Gorsuch has previously disclosed the names of people who've given him things like a fishing rod and a pair of cowboy boots, but no name this time. He made somewhere between $250,001 and $500,000 from this sale.
I call that's 8 for me. That's
not impressed.
Oh, see, and I gave it a 3.
No.
All
right.
The tables are turning.
Tables are turning. All right. This is the last one. So what number do you have left? This is you're going to have to put it.
I have 7.
I have 4.
All right. Let's see if you feel confident that this is where this should land.
Yeah.
John Roberts' wife earning millions from big law. Not even Chief Justice John Roberts has avoided the appearance of impropriety. His wife, Jane, was paid more than $10 million in recruiting commissions over 8 years from, quote, elite law firms that also had business before the court. Naturally. Roberts' own disclosure forms only list Jane as receiving a salary as a legal recruiter and don't detail the amount she's earned or which law firms the money came from. Seems fine.
I'm fine with my 7.
I give it a 4.
You'd give it a 4
I have to give it a
anyways?
4. I have to give it a 4. And I actually I would probably switch it if I hadn't. It'd be in the 5 range. So I'm fine with 4.
All right. So, it's a lot. It's a lot to know that in all of this are scandals that have happened with people who are currently seated on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But they get to rule themselves. So we should all just
Everything's fine.
be fine with it.
I want to know where those 3 justices I love so much are, why they're not at all saying anything about any sort of
That's an
oversight.
interesting point. Why do you think that is the case? Like what?
I know.
They can't be happy with what's happening, right?
I couldn't tell you. They stopped calling me years ago.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But there is, if you use some just like,
I think
speculation.
I mean, honestly, like at the end of the day, power corrupts. And if you're in a job that pays
So you think they're just like protecting their own?
Yeah, because they even said, so there was an article I talked to you about the fact that all 9 justices pushed back on oversight. They're all saying, we have our own ways of dealing with things. We have our own experts we can talk to about this. No, that's not how it works. The people you deal with is the government. You are one of the 3 branches. Like I said, checks and balances. You are not above the law. The moment you say we're not going to come, the moment you say we're not going to give ourselves up to being scrutinized, that's your job to scrutinize. And if you're not willing to do that, no, sorry, that's despicable. And it makes me so angry. It makes me so incredibly angry because it feels like they do bust then. Like, I got the job. You like me a lot. I got the job. And now I can do whatever I want. And where does it end? How does it end? How does this end?
I know. I think that's the thing. I was like, whoa, okay. So we're just, once you get appointed, then like
all bets are off.
All bets are off. You don't have to respond. Like you're not accountable to anyone. And
they weren't.
That's one of the side job perks that is not publicly listed.
They weren't subpoenaed, right? They were just asked to.
Yeah, they were just asked to appear.
So that's the only other way to get them is subpoena. I'm sure, but they'll probably be like, "This is no good. I'm a judge, and I don't have to enter a subpoena."
But
because
it would still have to like put politics aside, put partisanship aside, and like the GOP, at least from everything, all the reporting I've seen, has not shown any desire to pursue this.
Oh, and they're defending Clarence Thomas.
Oh yeah.
Time.
And if this was a flip court 5-4 in favor of the liberals, the moment they took over the House this past year, it would been nothing, or this year, they would have been nothing but get them in the room, put them like, let's impeach them. Let's get them, of course they don't care. They're in control of the court right now. They don't have to care. Once again, going back to what we talked about in the segment before, they don't have to care right now. But the moment that the power is switched, oh my God, you better believe they're going to be dragging every single one of those justices by the robe into the room.
All right. Well, when we come back, the end of last month, the Clean Economy Coalition of Wisconsin was announced. And so we're going to be talking to Chelsea Chandler, Clean Wisconsin's Climate, Air, and Energy Program Manager, about that new coalition. So stay tuned. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
The Shaw, 101 FM, WAUK 540 AM, Waukesha's only news talk station.
CBS News brief. The wife of a Texas mass shooting suspect and others are facing charges after his arrest. CBS's Janet Shamlian.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi there.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sorry for the late. Thought I sent you the link, and sometimes lots of details, but you're here, so it's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this will be pretty straightforward. I saw the WPR article, and I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. So just an opportunity to talk more about the different groups involved, what the 6 policy goals are. Strength in numbers as far as working together on this. And then if we have time at the end, because we'll let you go at 12:48, maybe like, what are the biggest obstacles right now? Like, is it lawmakers? Is it public opinion? Just kind of like, who do we still need to like convince or get on board? Anything else you want to cover?
No, that sounds perfect. Yeah, I think I can get into a little bit about what that clean energy economy looks like. I know we put like a report out that kind of explains some of the benefits, and so I can talk a little bit about that too.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, we have about 3 minutes still.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
University of Wisconsin Health and Unity Point Health Meritor are ending their mask requirements. Unity Point says the public health environment surrounding the coronavirus is getting better. Republican lawmakers are taking 545 of Governor Evers' state budget proposals off the table. The Budget Writing Joint Finance Committee took the first votes on the spending plan yesterday. Senator Dewey Strobel says non-fiscal items like free school lunch and Brewer Stadium maintenance don't belong in the spending plan.
When you go from a $7 billion surplus to a $4 billion deficit in 2 years,
That's just crazy.
The budget debate is expected to play out for several more weeks. In sports, the Rockies beat the Brewers last night 3-2. Eric Lauer starts tonight for Milwaukee. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Real Chili's been serving up mouth-watering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late-night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love Party Packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
Love the outdoors, but lack the gear to explore it? River West Outdoor Pro Shop has everything you need. Rock climbing, snowshoeing, kayaking, and more. Don't know what you need? Come visit the shop located in the basement of Milwaukee Turners at 1034 North Velar Phillips Avenue. Their friendly staff will help you find what you need. For questions and hours, call 414-272-1733, extension 16. 414-272-1733, extension 16. Have fun on the lake this summer. Treat yourself and find the watercraft you want at Action Boathouse Showroom just south of 59 on 164 in Waukesha. Check out the fun and versatile Sea-Doo Switch with its powerful Rotax jet engine. Action Boathouse Showroom also has a selection of luxury fishing boats or pontoon boats from 7 top USA manufacturers. The team at Action Boathouse Showroom is excited to help you launch into the sun this season and onto the lake. Action Boathouse Showroom just north of 59 on 164 in Waukesha.
Hey, this is Lindsay Kindred at 540 WAUK The Shaw. At Civic Media, we love our local communities and want to share your stories. Submit your local event and we'll let our listeners know. Email me, Lindsay Kindred, at info@civicmedia.us. That's info@civicmedia.us.
Oh, can you take care of her? Oh, maybe you can spare her several moments of your consideration, leading up to the final destination. Oh, the earth is going.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair. He is Greg Bach. And at the end of March, the Clean Economy Coalition of Wisconsin was announced, and it's a group of 12 environmentally focused organizations who are joining together to push for local and statewide policies that prioritize improving access to clean energy and power sources. And so we invited Chelsea Chandler back, who is Clean Wisconsin's Climate, Air, and Energy Program Manager, to tell us more about the coalition. Welcome back, Chelsea.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So I guess beyond kind of that like tagline, how would you describe what the coalition is planning to do?
Yeah, basically, the coalition represents a broad group of people that are coming together around a unified goal, which is to make Wisconsin carbon-free by 2050, and in the process to shift to a clean and really robust, thriving economy. The transition means that we're, reducing harms to the folks that are currently most burdened by air pollution, that are struggling to pay energy bills, and that are dealing with a lot of the worst impacts of climate change, like extreme heat and flooding. But it also means, importantly, that we want to make sure that all Wisconsinites stand to benefit from the opportunities that this transition to a clean energy economy brings, such as, really good paying clean energy jobs.
And so obviously Clean Wisconsin is one of the 12, but what are the other groups involved?
Yeah, so we've got a number of founding members that include Clean Wisconsin, the ACE, or the Action for the Climate Emergency, Audubon, Elevate Energy, Healthy Climate Wisconsin, Wisconsin Land and Water, the Nature Conservancy, Renew Wisconsin, Sierra Club, Slipstream, Walnut Way Conservation Corp., and Wisconsin Conservation Voters. So it's basically a bunch of folks that work on climate, energy, environmental justice, and conservation. But those are just the founding members. You mentioned we did hold a public launch at the end of March. And so we definitely invite other organizations to join forces with us. And there's information on our website, which is just cleaneconomywi.com. And folks can just submit a form there if they'd want to get involved.
There's a lot of groups. It's a lot of different people trying to work on this issue, which is great. And so I guess with that, was that kind of the driving force of like there's strength in numbers as far as each organization kind of tackles a different part of the puzzle as far as whether it's justice or policy or research or I don't know. So it's like how does it fit all together as far as complementing each other's work?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Many of the organizations that are part of the coalition have been working on these issues for a long time. Clean Wisconsin has been around for 53 years. But we know that sort of our experience and strengths can really complement each other and be more powerful combined. We're bringing together folks with lots of policy experience, people that have kind of more grassroots organizing experience, lived experience and knowledge, and being able to bring together those different skills and insights is really helping us to strategize collectively and kind of rise to the moment, because we know right now really is a crucial moment when it comes to addressing climate change, to ushering in all the opportunity that comes with this clean energy economy. There's tons of federal money right now available through the Inflation Reduction Act, through the bipartisan infrastructure law. And we really don't want to miss out on this opportunity. So it's really time to kind of join forces and making sure that we're maximizing all the benefits that can come into Wisconsin.
So then I know you kind of said some of the like carbon free by 2050, but like there's 6 main policy goals, right? Of the coalition is dedicated to?
Yeah, so we've got basically 6 priority areas. One is around a healthy economy, and I can dig into that a little bit more, but it's basically supporting efforts and policies that are going to improve health, provide good jobs, help build healthier communities and environment. Another is on environmental justice and infrastructure. We want to make sure that racial and economic justice is really centered in our work. We know that there are communities now that are disproportionately impacted by climate change and other environmental harms, air and lead pollution and things like that. And this coalition is really working hard to help bridge some of the lived experience of those communities that have been overburdened with kind of the arenas where decisions are being made, like in the Capitol, at state agencies and things like that. So the Wisconsin Environmental Justice and Infrastructure Initiative is a really key part of the coalition, and they're working locally with respected community leaders, faith leaders, and actually sharing micro grants and helping to fund awareness and action to address some of those issues. A third area is carbon-free power. We want to work to advance policies that are getting us to 100% carbon-free Wisconsin by 2050 and to get us better energy independence along the way. We know that right now we're sending $14 billion out of state every year for fossil fuels because we don't have coal and gas resources in Wisconsin. So wouldn't it be better to have more homegrown renewable energy, because we have sun here, we have wind here, so we can have solar and wind power, for example. Another area is in home and building repair. So we're advocating for policies to get to 100% zero carbon in new buildings, residential, commercial buildings by 2030, and to reduce energy use in the building sector by half by 2030. So some of that involves phasing out natural gas and promoting more efficient electric appliances and heating and things like that, and helping to reduce energy burden, which is basically the percent of someone's income that they're having to spend towards energy. And we know right now there's a lot of people in Wisconsin that have very high energy burdens and are struggling to kind of meet those basic needs. And then the last 2 are thriving landscapes. We're a big agricultural state. We know that there's a lot of policies and practices that we can promote, incentives that help improve water quality and soil health, and also help keep carbon in the ground where it does good and out of the atmosphere where it causes harm. So we're really excited to be able to promote some of these practices that can really help our rural communities, keep healthy soil, keep farmers in business, and also benefit the climate and all of us. And then the last one is next generation transportation. So we're looking to help accelerate the transition to electric and low carbon transportation. And we've got a goal of having over 50% of new car sales electric by 2030.
Whew. That's I mean, it's like, it's funny because it's only 6, but that's a lot of different areas, and like it's all really important. We're talking to Chelsea Chandler, who is the Clean Wisconsin's Climate, Air, and Energy Program Manager, and we're talking about the Clean Economy Coalition of Wisconsin, which was established at the end of March. And I guess when we say clean economy, it can sound like a buzzword as far, and so like what in practical terms to everyday people does a clean economy actually look like? What kind of jobs does that entail?
Yeah, basically, there's a lot of great jobs and economic benefits that come with this. So I can give some examples. A couple of coalition members, Clean Wisconsin, along with Renew Wisconsin, worked on a study that did some modeling and looked at, what does the clean economy look like in 2050. And we find that there's, up to $4.4 billion in avoided healthcare costs because of reduced pollution. You're getting, fewer asthma attacks, chronic lung and heart illnesses, fewer missed, work days, school days, and things like that. There's also fewer deaths from air pollution by 2050. An increase in gross state product of 3%, and that's going to add about $16 billion to Wisconsin's economy by 2050, and also 68,000 additional jobs. And so those are jobs that are different kind of skill sets, and so there's really something for everybody in that mix. But with all the electrification, we need more electricians who know how to install heat pumps, for example. We need more folks in manufacturing for, parts for solar and wind turbines. So there really is a variety of great jobs that are part of this package too. And then it also means lower out-of-pocket costs for fuel and energy. And so that's going to affect everybody. And a huge reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. But, basically what this looks like economy-wide is we are powering our lives with more renewable energy, with solar and wind energy. We're using more batteries so that it's reliable. Our buildings and cars are mostly powered with clean electricity. We've got families who are better able to, afford to heat and cool their homes and, have a comfortable living situation. And an agricultural system that is really regenerating the land and building up soil health and helping keep families passing on those farms from generation to generation. So it's a really beautiful vision to work towards. Yeah. There's all kinds of benefits, from health to economics. So I think it's something that we can all get behind.
So someone like me, I think is like, sign me up. That sounds great.
I love it.
I love it. Let's do it. But obviously it's not that simple. So as far as the landscape of working towards these things, like is the obstacles that pop up, let's say today, obviously there's gonna be stuff in the future. Is it policy and lawmakers and stuff that needs to change with the laws? Is there still kind of like informational campaigns for consumer buy-in? Like, where is kind of the sticking points right now? Like I feel like every once in a while I see a article pop up about like EV cars, and then they're still like battling the misconceptions around how far you can drive with an EV car before you have to plug in and stuff like that. So is it, I'm assuming it's a little bit of both, but as far as kind of like the landscape right now is, like obstacles or like objections as far as working towards this vision, where like you're the 12 different groups running into those?
Yeah, it's definitely both of those things. I'd say it's also urgency, because we, in many ways, we're starting to move in this direction, but we're not going fast enough. So, for example, Wisconsin's major investor-owned electric utilities all have carbon-free goals in place, so they want to kind of get to that same destination, but and we're seeing more investments in things like solar farms, which is fantastic, and we support. But we know we're not moving fast enough to get to where we need to be. We're not kind of at the pace and scale. So we need to move faster. And we also need to close coal plants faster. We need to stop building new gas plants because we can't get to zero carbon if we're still building things that emit carbon. So there is a little bit of that urgency question. Then there's definitely some of the public education piece. I mentioned the Inflation Reduction Act earlier. There's so many great incentives that are part of that federal legislation, but it's hard to navigate for the average consumer. I actually really like Rewiring America has a great IRA calculator. If you just kind of Google those terms, Rewiring America IRA calculator, you'll get to it. You can type in some information about your zip code, like your household income, how many people live in your home, and you'll get a personalized list of incentives, basically everything you're eligible for. And that's things like new and used electric vehicles, installing heat pump, installing solar panel, weatherization. So I feel like that's a really great resource, but we need to do more, as a coalition. The government bodies need to do better of getting that information out to people. We also need to keep educating our workforce, because we know that this is sort of changing the landscape a little bit. So, our contractors, electricians, we want folks to be more confident in being able to install things like a heat pump, which can heat and cool your home, and you're using electricity. But right now there's sort of a gap where there's not a lot of contractors that are actually recommending people install them. So we need to start moving in that direction too. And then, you also mentioned policy, and of course that is a huge deal. There's a lot that we can do with the federal money we have, with local governments, through the governor's leadership, with behavioral change and individual action. But there's a ton that we could do, and it would make it so much easier if we had supportive legislation. And that's just not happening at a sufficient level right now.
No, really?
What?
What? That's our job to make fun of it. I'm not trying to put you in a corner.
I would love to see more bills that could pass on things like allowing community solar, where we can have, solar farms that everybody can kind of subscribe to and get the benefit if you can't afford to have your own solar panels on your house, or if you're a
Absolutely.
renter or whatever.
Unfortunately, Chelsea, we have to cut you off because we're running up against a break, but thank you so much for joining us. This was so informative and fun. We will link all the information for where you can learn more about the Clean Economy Coalition of Wisconsin. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon, Chelsea.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. All right, bye-bye.
Are record high energy and water costs putting a squeeze on your fixed or limited incomes? With inflation rising at record levels and incomes not keeping pace, you might be one of tens of thousands of Wisconsin residents who are struggling to survive. While you may not ask for it, the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund and your local energy assistance providers are here to help. No Wisconsin resident should ever have to be without heat, water, or power. For a hand up, apply today and call 1-800-506-5596. That's 800-506-5596. Or visit www.heat.help. That's www.heat.help.
It's easy to listen to your favorite local radio station anytime. Media app from the Apple or Google Play Store. Then listen live or whenever you want from anywhere for free.
Weather brought to you by Taqueria Miyagi, Waukesha's authentic Mexican food truck, which is now open and ready to serve you. Find us at 1610 Lincoln Avenue in the BP gas station parking lot, or call us at 262-278-6590.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Partly cloudy this afternoon with highs around 57. Northwest winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Lows around 36. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Mainly clear skies. Tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 65. Seasonal temps Friday and Saturday with highs from the low 60s to the mid 60s. Chance for scattered rain showers Friday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 48 degrees.
WAUK 540 AM, Franklin's choice for News Talk Radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
So, Greg, I have to imagine circa 2018
Oh, that was a good year.
I think it was around that year.
Yeah.
You had all of your tickets bought.
Yeah.
To go to Firefest.
Oh, I bought for me, my mom, my sister. I bought one for you before we even had met. I'm like, I'm going to meet a wonderful human who wants to go see some of the best music, including Yarul.
Yarul.
And I was like, yeah, I got like 50 tickets.
And then somehow, obviously, it didn't work out.
No, and you know, I get it. Things happen. Concerts fall through. You know, sandwiches aren't up to people's par.
You know, bologna sandwiches. You liked them a lot as a kid. As an adult, doesn't really hit the spot.
But you know, hey man, forgive, forget, move on. Let's, you know, come on. It's a new day.
All those crowds expecting, I don't know, bathrooms and stuff. Jeez.
Hey, you know what? The good Lord
accommodations to sleep in.
Jane, I'm just gonna. Okay, I sense your sarcasm. I just say the good Lord gave us the ground for a reason. That's to pee and poop on.
Good to know.
Sorry, excuse me. This was 2017.
That was a terrible year.
2017, not 2018. But no worries, guys.
Oh yeah.
Because Fire Festival 2 coming back.
Are you serious? Is it called Fire Festival 2 Electric Boogaloo?
Billy McFarland,
which just sounds like a made-up name,
announces Fire Festival 2 is, quote, finally happening following his prison release. Fire Festival 2 is finally happening. McFarland tweeted this week. This was 2 weeks ago. Following his involvement in the original ill-fated festival. And I just want to know who's signing up for this thing. Who's gonna fool me once, fool me twice? Can't fool me twice.
Can you explain for the
you can't fool me again?
Explain for the unhip kids what happened with the first Firefest.
So Fire Festival in 2017.
By the way, Fire with a Y.
Fire with a Y was supposed to be a luxury music festival founded by this guy, Billy McFarland, who at the time I think was 26, 27, and rapper
Yarul,
or also known as Ja Rule. And it was created with the intent of promoting the company's Fire app for booking music talent. And the festival was scheduled to take place in the spring, on a Bahama, in the Bahamas, like on an island in the Bahamas. And at first, like, there was so much buzz about it because it was promoted exclusively on Instagram with like all of these models like Kendall Jenner and Bella Hadid and Haley Baldwin and like all these like hot girls.
I know one of those people.
You don't follow the hot girl brigade?
No, it just feels gross.
And many of them didn't disclose that they had been paid to promote this event. They were just like on yachts and like partying and like that's how they were.
Come hang with us.
Yeah. And so it was like the epitome of kind of social media influencer. Look how hot and sexy and like you need to be in the in crowd. Like you're going to be missing out if you're not going to be at this festival.
Like Coachella, but more pretentious.
Yeah. And it was like Coachella in the Bahamas, but the promise of what the accommodations were going to be were a lot. They paid, people were paying hundreds of dollars to like, if not thousands of dollars to be there.
Yeah.
And basically when the people showed up, it was just a disaster.
There was no infrastructure.
There was no infrastructure. And it was basically people were sleeping in tents. There was actually not like bungalows for people. The food was basically like prepackaged sandwiches.
Just Google Firefest sandwich. That's all you need.
Yeah. And so McFarland went to jail.
Yeah, he did.
And Ja Rule did not. Did he get any real ramifications from this?
He pulled out. I think, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he like pulled out and he ran away before the cops could catch him, essentially.
And so now, guy's out. Guy's trying to get his shine back, but he tweeted out on April 9th, fire emoji. Fire Festival 2 is finally happening.
Can you really
this is the other part of the tweet. Tell me why you should be invited. It's invite only.
Here's
apparently.
the question Can we really call it Fire Festival 2 if the first one never happened?
I think that's an
excellent point.
Should be Fire Festival 1 redo.
Or Firefest 1A.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to go through like the quote tweets, but I can't imagine many people are taking this seriously,
I mean,
right?
people who perform for the coronation of King Charles are turning this down. Come on now. Let's be serious.
Are we finally getting to the point? Because now, the number of people who've been on Forbes XYZ or like 30 under 30 list who are now in jail or have frauded people out of billions of dollars collectively. And like these, and the same thing with, who am I thinking of? Not Billy McFarland, but the one that
the Bitcoin dude?
Anna. No.
Yeah, no.
The HBO series.
Becoming Anna.
Not Becoming Anna. Gosh.
Anna Taylor-Joy?
No, it's the one who basically she was trying to create like a co-working space and she defrauded a bunch of like hedge fund people and she was like, there's been so many and now I can't think of her name. It's the same actress who's in the Ozarks. Julia something.
Anna Sorokin.
Anna Sorokin, is that?
Anna Delvey.
Anna Delvey.
Yep.
Thank you. It's like there's so many of these people now who just exude enough confidence that they convince people who have money and power to believe in them. They're always so charismatic.
Yeah,
and I'm like, have
I know.
you met a celebrity before? Have you met an actress? Like that is charisma. Like these people are above mediocre.
They have it.
But it sounds like he's gonna do it. I don't know who would fund this guy to put up the money to try to pull this off, but
Ja Rule, by the way, was officially dismissed from that $100 million class action lawsuit filed by Fire Festival attendees.
Yeah.
So he was cleared of any wrongdoing.
Good job, Ja.
Good job, Ja.
I think honestly, you're gonna find people who, and I don't mean to cast aspersions and I'm not making fun of you right now. You're going to see a lot of people who buy blue check marks on Twitter who are going to be like, I'm down for this. This is exactly what America needs. This is going to be fire.
We have to go to a break, but I'm just going to say this. There's a certain person running for president on the Democratic side who is a little bit of a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, God.
And it was wild. My brother sent me one of his tweets this morning and scrolling through the responses, how many blue check marks I saw.
Oh, yeah.
And now it is like a sign of who, all right, you're like, oh, this is the kind of person who's responding to this guy's tweets.
They're drinking the blue Kool-Aid.
I say this as a blue check mark holder. All right, when we come back, are you lonely? Because you're not alone if you are. This is As Goes Wisconsin. We'll be back after the news.
Welcome to Mount Pleasant in Racine County, your next vacation and business.
What is this hour called?
The No Sour Ha Fun Time Power Hour.
What did I say when I thought I got it?
I have no idea.
It's right for today.
It's right for today.
Oh,
it's
you know
right.
what, Jane? Can you ever be on my side? Ever?
What do you think got me this job?
What do you think got me? Oh, darn it. Shoot. I'm in.
Moving Wisconsin forward, one joke at a time. This is Kristen Bry with As Goes Wisconsin.
Yada, yada, yada. Hello, Wisconsin!
Are you lonely? Because if you are, you're not alone.
You're looking right at me.
But no, that is a serious question. Are you of the almost 50% of Americans who are lonely and it's affecting their health? 844-967-2789. And I guess more specifically, if you don't want to just call us and go, yes, I am lonely.
You can text too.
You can text, but also I guess, what do you do to try to mitigate loneliness? Because part of the U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, declaring loneliness as an epidemic is also talking about policy and suggestions on how we can curb loneliness. And so I would love to hear, and the three of us will obviously share tips, life hacks for when we're feeling lonely. But I think it's like, that's a crazy number.
Yeah.
Right? Murthy said that half of U.S. adults experience loneliness, and then it can be as dangerous as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. That's wild.
Yeah. I got cancer. What kind? Lonely cancer.
But we've talked about the effects of stress and how bad that is on your blood pressure and your heart. And apparently loneliness has the same kind of effects.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's wild as far as like, how do you measure that? It's just interesting that we've gotten here, but like studies have estimated that the impact of social isolation, like I said, is 15 cigarettes a day, but it can increase the risk of heart disease, dementia, stroke, and premature death. It's also expensive, with social isolation among older adults accounting for $6.7 billion in excess Medicare spending annually.
Oh my God.
That's largely due to increased hospital and nursing facility spending, this advisory notes. That's wild.
Honestly, that makes so much sense. When you talk about, especially when it comes to the older folks, I think about someone like my grandmother, who at 80 years old, from her 80s to when she turned 90, cut herself off from, unless you were coming to her, she was not coming to you. And she lived in a single wide trailer in a trailer park in Dallas. And that 10-year period, just the degradation, thank you, of her health was crazy. And she had to have been suffering loneliness, but it was also that thing of, she's lonely, but she ain't going to do anything about it. And it just made her, and it was worse.
It was just compounding.
And the last 3 years, I would say the last 2 to 3 years, every time my mom would come home from her house to help her out, she'd be crying.
Oh.
Because it was just like, at one point we'd be like, this is no longer Ruth. This is a different person. We have to take care of her. We can't be taken aback by the things she's doing and saying, because it was just hard.
Yeah.
And so, it does not surprise me at all that loneliness has its own crushing mental and probably physical effects on your body too. The way you just, if you just sit in a couch all day long and watch TV by yourself, your body will acclimate to that lifestyle. So yeah, there's nothing shocking, but what you said, how do you measure it though? That's what
I think is like, how are they getting these numbers to attribute that kind of monetary loss to this? And how do they, I guess, like scientifically, medically, the linking between those two? I'd be interested to know, because is it just a measure of, hey, how lonely are you on a scale of 1 to 5? And then that measured against your health outcomes? How lonely are you on a
Whoa, boy. On a scale of 1 to 5?
Yeah.
I'd say a 2, sometimes 3.
If a 1 is not lonely.
Correct. Yeah. I would say yeah. Yeah, I'd probably say 2 to 3, sometimes 4, but like I would say middle because I have very all of my jobs are incredibly like, social. So that fulfills a connection there. But when I was thinking about it just now, that is a forced socialization. It's part of my job. I have to be there. Not saying I don't love it or like it or anything like that, but I'm also the type of person where if I'm not at home, if I'm not at the brewery or the club or a show like that I'm at home and I'm usually by myself because Bridget works from home. So she's isolated in her office. So there is a lot of isolation and loneliness I do feel because I'm not the type of person who's just like, let's go out for fun. Because I'm like, I live in Kenosha now. That fun is like an hour drive away.
You haven't made friends in Kenosha yet?
God, no. Have you met those people? I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, honestly, like honestly, for summertime, we're looking like, all right, cool. It's time for summer, farmer's market, meet people, at least go to a restaurant on a regular basis, that sort of thing. But once again, my schedule does not lend itself to the greatest nightlife because like, hey, who wants to go out on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Bunzo.
Because you're working on weekends.
Exactly. My job and when I'm home, I'm resting, I'm relaxing, I'm trying to, but I also have other responsibilities outside of those two things. So it's almost like being like loneliness as an adult is kind of, there's a correlations like how active are you as a person outside your job?
Mm-hmm. And how much time do you have to be active outside your job?
Yeah. And it also costs money sometimes too.
Yeah. Or the thing, like, he's like, well, if we're going to be social, we're going to go out to eat.
Yeah.
We're going to get drinks. We're going to go to a show. We're going to do something that spends money to do so. So we're talking about, we're asking, are you lonely? And if so, how do you mitigate it? How do you try to get some social interaction to make yourself feel better? Because you're not alone. The Surgeon General, the U.S. Surgeon General just declared loneliness a U.S. epidemic. And 844-967-2789. Are you lonely?
And also
we'd love to talk to you if you are.
844-96 party of one. Kristen, how lonely are you?
I would say a 2.
Okay.
I think, because the job thing resonates with me as far as feeling like when we get outside of this, the show every day, a lot of my weekends I spend working.
Yeah.
Like I spend on catching up and reading or thinking, like doing the work that kind of is harder to do day to day because we're just prepping for the next day's show versus thinking like bigger projects and strategy stuff. Like this weekend, I'm writing a speech because I'm emceeing the Out of Gamey Dems event that they're having on Monday. And so it's like, I don't have time to work on that this week. So I'm working on it this weekend. And I've found, and don't get me wrong, I love my job. But I have found since starting this job and the pressure I put on myself to perform in this job, I have much less time to be and like build community and have deepen friendships.
Yeah.
Because I'm still new to Milwaukee, right? And I obviously don't feel lonely because I have a great partner and husband. But like the time available to be social and make new friends, deepen the friendships of the people that I have made. And I feel like that's a common part of it is just like when you put so much pressure on your job and you don't always have great boundaries of like, no, part of your balance is actually, even if you feel like you have all this other stuff to do, is knowing that part of your mental health is to actually be like, it'll get done eventually.
Yeah.
It's fine. Go see your friends.
Yeah.
Instead of carving out the whole weekend to do this project.
That happened to me on Sunday. I went to a baseball game with a friend of the show, Dana Ehrman. My first game of the season. And I've never talked to you about this, but for me, my story with baseball goes back a few years. There's a great deal of therapy that I feel in baseball, watching a game, going to a game. And so it was go to the game with Dana, all of a sudden Ryan Mason, who may or may not be Ron Johnson. I'm just going to put that out there. And so he shows up with his son, Harvey. Harvey is just a little ball of energy that I love, gives big hugs. Then Gary, my friend Gary, shows up. So like we're all at a baseball game together. I'm excited talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So like just those moments of interaction, making time, as you said, saying to myself, all right, here's the thing. I got to be at the thing. I'm going to go to the thing. Had a blast. And it feels restorative. There is restorative energy to taking that time to put yourself out to friends and spending time with them and having just a good hang. There's good stuff in a good hang.
But I find it interesting too that we can communicate with each other in easier and more instantaneous ways than ever before,
Mm-hmm.
and yet we are still feeling isolated and alone.
Well, they've been talking about that for a long time now. It's like the more connected we are, the more isolated we are. And yeah, that's the thing is like you get to go on your Facebook page. Sorry, the kids Facebook, talk to your grandparents about it.
Someone just compared Facebook to like the mall.
That's fair.
And like how it used to be a cool place to hang. And now everyone's like, nah.
Now it's like Southgate. Sorry, Southgate. Yeah, yeah. Do I have 2,600 friends? No, I do not at all. But somehow I do.
Yeah.
And I got followers and I got this and I got that. But sometimes I go home at night and I feel crushingly alone.
Yeah. Well,
Jane, are you alone?
I think, well, but I think it's normal to feel some loneliness.
Yeah.
But it's not like I live it every day. And consider myself really fortunate to have a core group of friends I've had for a really long time.
You are so well adjusted. I love it.
I take it really well.
Okay, now I'm worried.
No, I have the opportunity that I can reach out to people if I'm feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you are feeling lonely, I hope you can too.
Well, if you are feeling lonely, we're going to go through some of the things they've outlined as far as how to combat that. So stick around. We'd love to hear from you. 844-967-2789. That's 844-96.
Party.
We'll keep talking about loneliness, the epidemic of it, when we come back. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
No more sorrow, but that's the chance you gotta take if you're lonely. Heartbreak, only the lonely.
Are you more than $10,000 in debt? Feel like you're on a never-ending treadmill, staying in one place and never getting ahead with those minimum payments? You feel like there's no way out? Get off the endless debt treadmill and start saving money each month. There are programs in place to help you get free of your debt, and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. The program at Total Financial Freedom can help you get debt-free in months instead of decades. Call Total Financial now at 800-208-1312. 800-208-1312.
You are never far away from your favorite radio station. We're always streaming on TuneIn and the Civic Media app. And if you missed your favorite show or game, listen to a podcast of it anytime on the app or our website, civicmedia.us.
Weather brought to you by Taqueria Miyagi, Waukesha's authentic Mexican food truck, which is now open and ready to serve you. Find us at 1610 Lincoln Avenue in the BP gas station parking lot, or call us at 262-278-6590.
Here's your updated forecast on the Shaw. Partly cloudy this afternoon with highs around 57. Northwest winds 8 to 15 miles an hour. Lows around 36. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Mainly clear skies. Tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 65. Seasonal temps Friday and Saturday with highs from the low 60s to the mid 60s. Chance for scattered rain showers Friday. For Civic Media, I'm meteorologist Eric Height. Currently, it's 52 degrees.
WAUK 540 AM, Brookfield's choice for News Talk Radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair. He is Greg Bach. And we're talking about the loneliness epidemic. And it's bad.
So, I'm sorry.
It's bad,
It just
but
was
it's
quiet.
also like it's leading to other really adverse health outcomes for people of all ages.
It sounds very, I mean, I agree with Greg with what he said about his grandmother, and we kind of experienced that with my own mother. And I just feel like this loneliness epidemic tragically seems to be maybe predominantly among older Americans. I know that this encompasses everyone, but I think that that is a genuine concern for elderly people. My mother was the same way. We got her into a beautiful assisted living facility. She had had some health problems. She had to go there for rehab. We thought, great, she's in this brand new, wonderful place and she'll be happy there. And, you know, once she recuperates, she'll decide she wants to stay. She was there for 2.5 weeks. She called my brother and said, come and pick me up. And he was like, what was the problem? And she said, they tried to make me do activities.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do activities.
And with my grandmother, it was, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And then it was, well, let's take a look at a place. All right, cool. We'll do some research. 2 weeks later, we're like, here's some places. I don't want to go.
I don't want to go.
Why would you do that? I don't want to go. You trying to get rid of me? I'm trying to help you. And that was the argument. Ugh, another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean.
But trying to force them into communal situations doesn't always work.
I think the common conversation that can happen definitely can be with elderly people. But then when you look at a person who is like married, has a partner, has children, has friends, and they're still saying, I'm lonely.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, the even more, because people aren't talking about that because they don't realize they're lonely. They'll be like, oh, you know, I do things on my own, but they don't have the information and the ability to look at, because they're, you know, this is a kind of a new thing. I mean, really, after COVID, during lockdown, people really realized how lonely we are as functioning adults if you have the ability to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And now it doesn't surprise me at all that the Surgeon General is coming out with this information. I'm just really worried how some people will weaponize it and say like, oh, lazy Americans, now we're lonely. Oh, we're lonely. Go out and toss a ball.
But I do think it's actually a fairly uniquely American thing. I think there's at least compared to certain European countries, I think that there is still more community.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's tied to like what I was saying about job stuff or how our suburbs are built and like that it is like such an like rugged individualism.
Yeah.
That's like steeped in our culture as far as versus like relying on one another that also adds to this. But as far as, you know, it is tied to COVID, but this was a quote from the U.S. Surgeon General. So COVID most recently exacerbated the loneliness that's been building for decades. In the last half century, we've seen the pace of change has dramatically increased. We communicate differently with people in part because of technology. We change jobs more often. We move more often. That has a profound impact on our relationships with one another. And I think that's interesting. So like what Jane said, like you've had the same friends
for
decades, whereas I have moved a lot since I was 16. And like, I've collected friends over time and I stay in touch with them via text and call and social media. But like, you know, I've started over so many times that like familiarity and this, I've changed jobs so many times. And so that like years and years of like bond gets start over. And like, luckily for me, I make friends pretty easily because I'm not going. Some say
charming. Well,
but those long-term relationships. One of my closest friends lives in Texas. We had only been friends for about 8 months, and she moved to Texas in 1992. And we are still. I can call her up right now. We'll be right back where we are, but it takes work.
That says a lot about the two of you then, and how much your friendship mean to each other.
And you have to call each other and check up on each other, and we would meet and go on vacations together, and it takes some nourishing those relationships.
Yeah, I think the problem too is, and you know, because I'm sort of in the middle between the two of you. Like, I know a lot of people, And I would say I'm friends with them, and I don't want them to ever think I don't think we're friends, but I do not have deep bonds with anybody going back a certain amount of time. Like there's no, like in my wedding, there was nobody like, man, we've known each other since we were 5, you know, like this is good. Me and him were in kindergarten together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's always been difficult for me to make friends because I'm not outgoing. I'm more introverted. Like I sound like I can be extroverted, but that's as Jane would say, I put on a good show. I'm much more to myself. So meeting new people, it's very difficult to make a real true bond. I mean, there's tons of people I meet, I talk to on a regular basis. They're cool, but I'm not calling them to go to a baseball game. I'm not, you know what I mean? So for me, it's very hard because one of the things, Jane, you're talking about as far as keeping those connections is like, I'll say like, oh, I want to call Kristen and see how she's doing. No, she's busy. I don't want to bother her. I'd be bothering if I called her. That's just, and then what happens is that compounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, Kristen doesn't call me. And then I feel,
well, do they care?
Why am I caring so much? And maybe we're not the friends I thought we were. Oh man.
Oh, you're speaking my language.
Just spiral like a ham. And it's just, it's terrible. So
you build resentment.
Yeah. And then you see him again and you're like, oh, hey, how's it going? And you feel bad inside for talking.
Because they're super nice to you and they're excited to see you.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, they were mean to me in my head.
Yes. Oh my God, you're talking. Oh, this exact thing has happened to me so many times.
But that goes back then to what we were talking about just before and at the beginning of the show, which is mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Addressing those problems, addressing the deeper wound versus like a Band-Aid. You know, calling someone isn't going to alleviate your loneliness. But
that's interesting because one of the things outlined as far as how to mitigate loneliness, which is when people call you, pick up the phone.
Oh God, yeah.
And I often will see it and I'm like, do I feel like talking right now?
Yeah.
And it's not that I get a ton of phone calls, but it's like I have a 35-minute commute every day. Like there's no reason I shouldn't be calling someone every day when I drive home, have my AirPods in and make a reach. And there's something as simple as that of just spending 5 to 10 minutes connecting.
Do you want to connect? We'll do a 5 to 10 minutes.
Boop your nose.
Okay. Oh, now you're just getting weird.
All right. Well, let's keep talking about this. I feel like we all have some more to say. Stay with us. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want.
A progressive voice from Manitowoc to Janesville. WAUK 540 AM. Always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
CBS News Brief. The suspect in Friday's mass shooting in Texas is behind bars. So is his wife and a friend, San Jacinto County DA Todd Dillon.
The investigation so far indicates that he was assisting Mr. Oropeza in fleeing the neighborhood where the crime took place.
A suspect, Francisco Oropeza, is accused of shooting and killing 5 of his neighbors and was on the run until he was caught last night, about 16 miles from the crime scene. 3 stabbings in 1 week, 2 deaths have Davis, California residents worried. One of the dead is a University of California student like Aubrey Hart.
Going through the shock of, wow, there actually might be a serial killer at Davis.
Russia says Ukraine tried to assassinate Vladimir Putin with a drone aimed at the Kremlin. CBS's Charlie Daggett.
President Putin was not harmed, neither was anybody else for that matter. The Kremlin says Russia reserves the right to take retaliatory measures where and when it sees fit. Kyiv has so far denied any responsibility.
CBS News Brief, I'm Peter King.
The Shaw 101 FM, your fix for progressive talk. From Butler to Wind Lake. Always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
For Civic Media News, I'm Terry Bell. Here's what you need to know. Republican lawmakers are removing 545 of Governor Evers' state budget proposals. The Budget Writing Joint Finance Committee took the first votes on the spending plan yesterday. Democrats object to scuttling middle-class tax cuts and paid family leave, to name just a couple. Representative Evan Goyke.
We have to grow, and many of the things that are the responsibility of our government are what people are looking for.
The budget debate is expected to play out for several more weeks. The Assembly Republican plan to revamp shared revenue is still missing some details. We don't know yet how they plan to divide $227 million in new aid for local governments. It's also not clear how they plan to repeal the personal property tax. In sports, the Rockies beat the Brewers last night 3-2. Eric Lauer starts tonight for Milwaukee. I'm Terry Bell, and this is Civic Media News.
Real Chili's been serving up mouth-watering goodness to the people of Milwaukee since 1931. Their famous secret award-winning chili recipe is the same as it was back then and a local treasure. From lunch to dinner to late-night breakfast, Real Chili has you covered. And now you can bring the Real Chili to your next party, tailgate, wedding, or office gathering with their unbeatable catering options. And don't forget about their Real Love party packs, perfect for small groups, and pick up from their 2 convenient locations, downtown Milwaukee and near Marquette University campus. Visit them at realchili.com. That's realchili.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan, double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 866-88-BIBLE. That's 866-88-BIBLE. 866-88-BIBLE.
You care for the house, the kids, and our future. A Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. I am Kristen Bry. She is Jane Madnair. He is Greg Bach. And I thought we'd wrap up the conversation with some of the other suggestions that you can take or leave, but at least that are out there if you're feeling lonely. And one was minimize distractions. So how often have you caught yourself looking at your phone while someone is speaking to you? I'm really bad at that. What about during meals? Don't ask my husband. Do other people
like looking at your phone during meals, or just not paying attention during meals?
I think both.
Okay.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Focus on the conversation is the advice. Listening is as important as what we say. While you're at it, scale back on social media. Virtual connection is not a replacement for in-person time. So that's one. We just talked about before, when people call, pick up the phone.
Answer.
Do not send it to voicemail. Sorry, Mom. They basically, that 10 seconds feels so much better than going back and forth on text. One of the other things, I feel like people are sending more voice messages now, which is more personal than I think just a text.
Yeah,
you don't like those?
Well, I mean, I don't mind them, but they definitely don't replace a phone call.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, now you're just hearing their voice saying, "Hey, I'll be there in 10 minutes." You know.
No, I mean, I've done that when I don't want to feel like text a whole story out. I will tell like a 3-minute story via instead of like a voicemail.
Yeah.
It'll be a
you're
voice message.
3 minutes. You are a monster. Jeez.
I don't know if it's 3. No, is it?
Yeah. I still say phone call over everything. I mean, visit
Okay.
over everything if you can, but phone call if you can.
Another suggestion: serve others. Studies show that volunteering can ease feelings of loneliness and broaden our social networks. Consider donating your time to an organization in your community or offering to help your family, coworkers, or friends.
I'm telling you, I was just out at the Waukesha Habitat for Humanity site.
Oh yeah,
I was just gonna-
how'd that go?
yesterday.
I
I was
would-
out there yesterday.
How'd it go?
It was great. And they have groups that have been doing this for years that come every Tuesday and Thursday. There are some businesses that will organize for their employees to do this as their day of service for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of women out there yesterday. I'm not quite sure where they were from. They were so happy when they were done. And it was cold and windy and rainy yesterday. And I have never seen such a jovial group of women who were all senior citizens. And they had a ball. You could just tell they had a ball.
I was just about to say, after when we had was the executive director of the Waukesha County one or whatever
He was marketing Brett. Yeah.
Yeah, when we had him on the show, I told myself, get down to Kenosha's Habitat, put on your boots, volunteer, help, but also learn. Like you're going to learn how to do things that I can do at my house and meet people. Like, yeah, I've been thinking about yes.
Yes.
Even if Habitat isn't your thing, maybe it's the Humane Society, maybe it's Haws in Waukesha, whatever animal shelter might be nearby you. What is your passion?
Another great group that Bridget used to volunteer for, the USO.
What do they do?
Their service to soldiers and entertain veterans. But she would go to the airport, wherever city she was living in, and she would just sit behind a desk and welcome soldiers and give them pamphlets and it's interacting with the soldiers in a way that's real. I don't know. It's not government, if you will. It's USO. Everyone knows what the USO is, and so
clearly I don't.
you ever went to a USO dance there, Kristen?
No.
You ever danced the Charlie Hop? My grandmother used to go to the Eagles Ballroom in Milwaukee, and
also known as the Rave.
No, it's the Eagles Ballroom. It's the upstairs. It's always the Eagles Ballroom. We're not discussing that right now.
Okay.
And she used to go to USO dances all the time when there were big bands that would play there. But yeah, USO is also another great organization.
What is your favorite way to interact with people? What is your charity? How do you get involved? 844-967-2789. That is also 844-96
Party.
Thank you, Greg Bach.
It's funny you say the Eagles Ballroom because there's still social clubs. Like we're members at the Milwaukee Athletic Club. Well, I married into this.
That's about community also and networking.
Yeah,
right?
and I would
you also
say
have like Elks and the Rotary, and those are all social groups as well.
Mike's part of like the Moose something now. In Muskego. But I feel like that was a bigger staple than it used to be.
Yes, yeah.
As far as, and like, don't get me wrong, but like the Milwaukee Athletic Club now is like there's a restaurant, there's bars and stuff like that, but it's like it's a gym too. So it's like, and it's nice. I mean, when I do make it to the gym, you run into people, you have small talk, you say hi. It's nice to go to a place where you're going to know people. But I feel like when you think about Eagles Ballroom, when you think about all of the different social clubs that used to, or country clubs or whatever, but yeah, the Elks, it used to be a much bigger, like I would say you throw a stone of people, millennial and Gen Z or Gen X.
Yeah.
What do you think? Less than 50% belong to one of those clubs?
Oh God, even I would say
less than that.
I'd probably say 25% because even growing up, your grandpa was in the Elks Lounge or something like, even the Masons, which I almost got recruited into. But yeah, I would say that number has gone way down. But what the question is, what have we replaced that with? And I would say social media. We think that, once again, that's community, and it's not live community.
Or just like going to bars with your friends.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like as I get older though, I think about it and I think about these social groups, these community-based groups. They make a lot of sense to me, and they're cool. And maybe you'll check one out. Maybe I'll wear a funny hat, driving a little motorcycle down the street, and throw candy at kids at a parade. Oh my God, my life has changed, Kristen and Jane.
But one of the things that I think is so great about organizations like Habitat is that there is a tangible accomplishment that you can point to and say, I helped do this.
Yep.
And you can be there when the family moves in and see the joy and experience that. And I think it's so good for you.
Yeah.
It's just good for you all the way around, mentally, physically, everything.
How do you get your social interaction these days? 844-967-2789. 9689. That's 844-96-PARTY. Talking about ways that people mitigate loneliness. And I like the habitat one, because I especially like that, like being a goal-oriented person and being able to look at it, and like if you live in the community, you're like, I helped build that house.
And it was so neat when I was out there yesterday and Brett stopped by. I was talking to Connie, who's the project manager, and they were telling me how people in the neighborhood are so excited about this that they will drive by and beep and wave and, just all kinds of positive reinforcements. And it's good for all of us. It's good for the community.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of other ways, even for myself.
But there are, we've talked to Get Out the Vote organizers. We've talked to all kinds of groups that people can get involved in. It's taken that first step and identifying what it is that you're passionate. What do you care about?
Yeah. Yeah.
What fires you up?
Yeah. And I think that
festivals,
because a lot of times when we've talked to people who do the canvassing, the door-to-door stuff, which sounds intimidating, I think, to many people who've never done it. But then it's like, oh, it leads to conversation. Yes, it sometimes leads to
door slams, threatens, guns.
But it also can lead to really fulfilling conversations and connection.
Yeah. I mean, that's volunteer for a campaign. I mean, especially volunteer find out who your alderman is. If you like your alderman, tell them, hey, when you are up for re-election, I'd love to help you out. And you're going to meet your community. You're going to knock on doors and talk to people you're passionate about, a person you're passionate about. That's a great thing, It's that first step, though, as Jane says. The first step, get on your computer, type in whatever floats your boat. Even from like you were talking about the young lady who is on TikTok who knits to help with these. Maybe it's a knitting circle. Maybe it's, maybe start there on social media and see those things and then find where those groups are in your community because they exist everywhere. Yeah, exactly. They exist everywhere.
Have you ever been a part of a movie club?
No, because eventually they would get to a horror movie and that's where I'd tap out because I'm a big baby.
I'm so with you.
Yeah, I just, I'd love to be a cinephile. But I'm also just like, hey, you want to watch The Godfather for the 400th time?
Is that your favorite movie?
I wouldn't say it's up there. It's definitely up there. I love that film. I love the sequel. The third one's okay. He didn't make it better with the recut. It's worse. But I love movies. I really do. And
because I feel like I don't read as much as I should. I read a lot of news.
Yeah.
But I feel like I always don't, when there's talk of a book club, I'm like, I know I'm going to be the jerk who never reads the book.
Well, and it's then if it becomes homework, then it's no fun.
Well, and there's a balance to it because I think that there's something as far as the accountability of whether it's if you're on a committee, if it's Habitat, you've signed up for a volunteer shift. Like there's something about once you've signed up and you've given your commitment that you're going to show up or you're going to do this thing, it becomes a lot easier than like your social plans of canceling dinner because all of a sudden that part of your brain that's like, oh, like just sitting at home in my pajamas watching Netflix, drinking wine sounds like a lot nicer tonight. And it's really easy to do that. But sometimes if you have any kind of people-pleasing guilt part of your brain like I do, you're like, well, I don't want to be the jerk.
I said I would be there.
I said I would be there. I said I would do this thing. And then you're so happy that you went.
Yep. There's that great Mulaney joke, though, as adults where you like are getting ready to go out and they're like call to cancel plans. They're like, that's it's like heroin. You're like, they canceled. We don't have to go out.
But why is that? Like we're saying right now, we're lonely.
Yeah.
We're saying that it is an epidemic. We're saying that we need more social connection. And yet some part of us, introverted or not, has this feeling that we make social plans with the best of intentions. And then all of a sudden we get to the day of and we just want to stay home and chill.
Yeah.
And so what is that? Is it because we're all just exhausted and burned out and just it seems like too much work?
It could be a thing of like, I don't want to get ready. For some people, that process may take longer than others. Spending money. I mean, or, it could be, we all have been there where you're like, oh, we're going out with our friends. And you're like, I don't like these people. Or like the couples, like you're like they're boring.
Which is why you drink.
He's gonna talk about he's gonna talk about finance all the time. I don't care about Bitcoin, Brandon. Yeah. So I mean, I think in the moment, but that thing is like, as it is a joke, of course. Those things, like the aggregate of it all, like, over time it compounds. That one time it's great, but then after a while you'd be like, all right, now we got to get off our butts and go out and have fun and high five and play skee ball. And
we're also very contradictory beings.
Yeah.
We are.
Oh yeah.
I was just going to suggest people can do open mic nights.
Oh,
that
yeah.
could be.
Oh my God.
Or an improv group.
Okay, let's say stop it there.
But open mic nights. Do you feel like there's community there for the people who show up on Wednesdays?
Absolutely. Okay. Oh my gosh, yes. We could talk about that more in the next segment, but still, yes, there is tons of community in the open mic scene. For better, for worse. There can be toxicity, but there's a lot of support. There's a lot of great stuff there, helping people out, laughing at jokes and telling people, like, you're funny, being there because being a comedian is incredibly lonely.
Yeah.
It's incredibly, like, you're putting yourself out there. I mean, you could be telling a joke that people have heard 1,000 times, take my wife, please, but there's still a nugget of truth in there that you're putting yourself out there. And if people don't laugh at it,
yeah,
that hurts.
Well, that's why I did throw out improv, because improv is teamwork. And it may not, you may look down on it, but taking improv classes is fun.
No, I mean, that's where I started in comedy too. Everyone starts somewhere. You start at the bottom, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I don't have that kind of hatred for improv. I'm not that stand up. I'm fun. I'm playing a character.
We're making jokes.
It's just jokes, people.
It's just jokes.
Don't get yourself offended. Y'all triggered now?
Take a joke. All right. When we come back, speaking of jokes, what's come up at Laughing Tap this weekend? This is As Goes Wisconsin.
Have fun on the lake this summer. Treat yourself and find the watercraft you want at
I was walking down the high street when I heard footsteps behind me, and there was a little old man in scarlet and grey, chuckling away. Well, he trotted back to my house, and he sat beside the telly with his tiny hands on his tummy, chuckling away, laughing.
Oh my God.
Welcome back.
I want to make Kristen guess.
I have no
You have no idea who that is?
I have no idea.
Can I tell her, Jane?
You may tell her.
That's David Bowie, and I'm not lying.
Oh, now I hear it.
Yeah.
The Laughing Gnome.
One of his earlier, I don't want to say hits. I'm not giving that song that designation.
I think it's from like 1969.
Yeah, it's like, I think off his first or second record. But when Bowie started out, he was very much of the hip psychedelic British scene, which was all about writing ridiculous songs and
ridiculous lyrics
and having the most British voice in your singing. I'm a British person going down a road. There's a leprechaun. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
I just thought it was, I've never heard David Bowie sing Hands on His Tummy.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
If you listen to the first Pink Floyd record, it's all like that. Like, I've got a bike and I'm just gonna, it's just ridiculously British, almost offensively.
Is there a music video for that?
God, I hope so.
I would hope that there's some kind of ridiculous.
What's it? It's called The
If
Laughing
it
Gnome.
wasn't the original, I have to imagine that someone in their endless creativity of the internet has come up with a psychedelic, crazy, gnome-filled music video for this song.
Not the one that I found, but
yeah.
I'm sure you can Google for it and see if there's a Laughing Gnome video.
I mean,
from David Bowie.
Just look up David Bowie 1969. He's an adorable man.
Or adorable.
He's an adorable boy. Okay, so what's going on now?
So the reason why Jane played that song
Yeah.
is because we're talking about the Laughing Tap and who's going to be there this weekend, Greg Bach.
This weekend, returning to the Laughing Tap is one John Caparulo. He came here last year, did 5 shows. Wonderful gentleman, very, very funny. Was on Chelsea lately. Has been on CMT, HBO, all the stuff. He's just so funny. And Jane, we got a clip?
We do have a clip. Take a listen.
We went to one of those haunted houses, you know, where they dress up a barn with strobe lights and pay like $10 your pants. It's, I hate those places. And it's not, I'm not scared of the make-believe, the ghosts and goblin shit. I'm a grown-up, all right? I'm afraid of the people who work there. How bad is your life going that you signed up to be the werewolf for a month, you know? Because in my head, I don't really think that guy's the werewolf, but I don't think he thinks not the werewolf. They get way too into their job, man. Settle down, all right? Just scare the kids. I'm a dude.
Scare the kids. I'm a dude. That's Mr. John Caparulo, one of his less cussy.
One of his less cussy.
Yeah, he's very cussy.
Only 5 edits.
Yeah. So he's coming to town. Tickets are on sale. LaughingTap.com. All 5 shows Thursday, 2 on Friday, 2 on Sunday. If you want to come Saturday or Friday early, those tickets are selling faster. But hey, come out to any of those shows.
Mhm.
Have some fun. Enjoy a drink. No drink minimums. $20 a ticket.
Can't beat it. You cannot beat that.
Come on, people.
Come on.
Uh,
And then make sure that to say hi, go up to Greg Bach and say
Yeah.
hi.
Oh
And
my
tell
g-
them that you love their show.
Good Lord. Let me just say thank you. I have so much gratitude for the fans of this show, the As Goes Wisconsinites, and coming to the Laughing Tap, introducing themselves to me and giving me gifts of stickers or just giving me wonderful, deeply gracious compliments about the show and the work the 2 of you do. And just, yeah, it's thank you so much. Keep coming to shows. I love seeing you there. I'd love to high five you if you're comfortable. Well, let's start with a high five. But no, it's great. And I've loved the fact that this show has provided us with new fans. But I have other news. I'm sorry.
More
It's
news.
Not just John Caparulo for 5 shows at the Laughing Tap, laughingtap.com. But we've made some announcements with the Milwaukee Comedy Festival this year. I know. Hold on to your butts. Because
cigarette dangling out of your mouth.
Hold on to
Samuel
your
L.
butt.
Jackson.
I don't know why I do Chief Wiggums when I do a Samuel L. Jackson. Probably just remain less problematic. So Milwaukee Comedy Festival, our 18th year, coming up October 1st through the 8th. I know. Get out of my house. Pay your taxes. October the 1st through the 8th is when we're doing it. We just announced 2 headliners. First, on the 5th of October, that is going to be that Thursday, we are going to have Mr. Todd Barry returning to Shank Hall for that Thursday show on the 5th. He'll be coming to town as one of our headliners. This is the second time he's worked with us at the festival. The third or fourth time we've worked with him, but he's back. Tickets are available, mkecomedyfest.com. But also on Saturday, the 7th, I got goosebumps to announce at the Pabst Theater.
That's an extension.
That is, yes, Mr. Kyle Kinane.
Woo!
This is, I'm not, both of you, this is true. He's top 5 for me, period. As far as comedians I love, comedians I want to work with. Top 5. He will be headlining the Pabst Theater on the 7th of October. Tickets are available tomorrow, pre-sale at Pabst Theater website. The password is the word May, M-A-Y. It's gotta be May. And then the regular tickets go on sale Friday, but get your tickets. This will be a great show.
Is this the first time you guys have extended it to the Pabst?
Yes. So
Okay.
we've worked with the Pabst Group in the past, and we've utilized the Turner Hall Ballroom.
Okay.
But this time, it just worked out, and
Yeah.
they gave us the Pabst, and we want to make this a big thing. And Kyle is a next level comedian for us. And Loose in Chicago, I can say that verbatim almost. This is a big deal for us.
That's awesome.
We're so excited. And if you haven't listened to Kyle Kinane stuff, or Todd Barry, or John Caparulo, all 3 of them, but for me, Kyle Kinane is like, that is it.
How would you describe, for someone who doesn't know his comedy, how would you describe his comedy?
Kyle's,
yes,
very smart, observational, wrapped that you'd have to go to a mobile home to get.
All right, I like that description.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, over the next couple weeks, we'll get clips of
we'll
them.
Get some clips.
Yeah, get some clips.
All right. Well, that show just flew by. Thank you for texting. Thank you for calling. Thank you for being part of the show. And
Thank you
listening.
for being a friend.
And that. Come back tomorrow when we're going to have a big announcement. Tomorrow is the day. Big news. Is it professional news? Is it personal news? Am I quitting radio? Probably not. But come back tomorrow for our big announcement in the first hour. This has been As Goes Wisconsin.